approximately 444 rescues.
Search and recovery efforts are now in their fifth day. Officials say rescue operations have faced extremely treacherous conditions. There are still 5 campers and 1 counselor missing from a girls' camp in Kerr County, where 27 girls and counselors died. While there's a chance for some rain today, the region is forecast to get a break from the storms. The man serving a life sentence for killing Athens nursing student Laken Riley will undergo a mental evaluation at the public's expense.
It comes after an order from Judge Patrick Haggard, who convicted the undocumented migrant from Venezuela during a trial last fall. Defense attorneys are appealing that conviction. They argued that Ibarra has a congenital deficiency and was mentally incapable of preparing a defense when he agreed to a bench trial.
Mr. Ibarra, do you want to testify?
Señor Ibarra, ¿desea usted testificar? No, sir.
Prosecutors say there's no evidence that Ibarra was incompetent, but did not object to the evaluation. Jennifer Perry, 95.5 WSB.
Well, it is now official. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones throwing his hat into the race for governor.
The long-expected announcement he will seek the Republican nomination came via a splashy campaign ad released this morning. The vocal supporter of President Trump wasting no time offering a bold pledge to voters.
We're going to completely eliminate the state income tax. It will mean more money for you and more companies wanting to move here.
He joins Attorney General Chris Carr as the only 2 Republican entrants in the race, though more are likely to follow. The former UGA football captain served 10 years in the state Senate prior to his election as lieutenant governor in 2022, which came with a Trump endorsement. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
New here at noon, Cobb County commissioners holding their first of 3 public hearings on the proposed 2026 budget.
The county has managed to avoid a budget shortfall in the $1.3 billion proposal, which represents a $48 million increase over the 2025 spending plan. The measure includes raises for employees and keeps property taxes steady, something that this resident is happy about.
I will say thank you.
Commission Chairwoman Lisa Cupid says she knows this will be welcome news to property owners.
And everybody's experiencing economic hardship at this time.
A second hearing is set for July 16th with a final hearing and vote expected on July 22nd. In Cobb County, Jonathan O'Brien, 95.5 WSB.
Now to DeKalb County, where they have paused their 10% water rate hike for now, but community advocates say that they want more. Catherine Maddox with the group DeKalb Water Watch says they want the CEO to pause any disconnections and end any negotiations on payment plans for customers who are behind on their bills.
We've seen far too many residents who are on fixed incomes that are put on arbitrary payment plans of $300 to $500 a month.
Maddox says the county commission approved affordability measures back in February and that the county has failed to properly implement those measures. DeKalb County plans to raise its rates later this year and every year for the next decade. Emory University Midtown Hospital announcing construction plans to eventually house some of its workers nearby.
Emory says it purchased 477 and 489 Peachtree Street at the corner of Pine Street and across from the hospital. It plans to heavily renovate both buildings, including tearing out the back half of one property in order to create more than 50 affordable housing units exclusively for its employees. Emory says it'll use federal and state tax credits to offset some of the costs. No timeline's been given for final construction. Emory says because both buildings are more than a century old, it's retained experts to assist with the plans. Judd Hickenbotham, 95.5 WSB.
While we're talking about housing, home buyers may have the upper hand headed into the second half of the year here in Metro Atlanta. New numbers from Georgia MLS showing median home prices slipped a little in June, down $12,000 from May to $418,000. But more homes sold this June than last year at this time. Real estate experts say demand is still strong and inventory levels remain healthy. And if the Fed lowers interest rates later this month, a drop in mortgage rates could create even more momentum. All right, let's take a look at the markets. The Dow right now is down 83 at 44,323. NASDAQ is up, positive territory, only slightly, and so is the S&P. It's time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Here's Alex Williams with a look at the roads.
Traffic Trooper Jet spots some trouble in DeKalb County, southeast leg of the perimeter. 285 east and northbound, the outer loop between Flat Shoals and I-20. A crash and a stalled Big Rig, 2 separate incidents, both in the right lane, causing some delays there. Elsewhere, if you're traveling 85 northbound, taking 985 north, heading up toward Buford, stalled Big Rig still working to clear out of a right lane. 985 northbound just past the I-85 split. And you got the left lane rolling construction, 285 southbound, the outer loop through Smyrna Vinings, just south of Paces Ferry Road. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Now your 5-day forecast sponsored by Shoemate, the official air conditioning of Atlanta.
Partly cloudy, hot and humid today, high 86. A few pop-up showers and thunderstorms possible through the afternoon and evening hours. Lows tonight in the mid-70s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a few pop-up storms, high 94. Scattered rain showers and thunderstorms on Thursday and Friday with highs in the upper 80s, low 90s. Saturday, partly cloudy with scattered pop-up storms, high 89.
More news at 12:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Well, we have the constitutional crisis everyone has warned us about, except it hasn't come from Donald Trump. It's come from the left. Welcome, everybody. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation, 877-973-7425. A judge in Massachusetts, an Obama-appointed judge, has declared a temporary restraining order on a provision of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that would defund Planned Parenthood. Now, last I checked, the power of the purse resides with Congress, not judges. And we don't know the judge's reasoning. David French has made the argument it could be viewpoint discrimination. That's not going to hold up to the power of the purse. Others have said, and this is the dumbest argument, that it's a bill of attainder. We have no idea. The judge has issued a two-page order, and he has said, nope, you can't do this. Congress says don't use Medicaid funding, Medicare funding, and Planned Parenthood, and you got the left trying to rationalize their justification for it. We've got a constitutional crisis on our hands. We do. Because if you've got a federal judge telling Congress it's not allowed to defund a private entity, I'm sorry, that just doesn't make any sense at all. It just doesn't. Congress has the power of the purse. We've been warned forever. Now, since Donald Trump got elected, we were headed towards a constitutional crisis. It's always a constitutional crisis. Anything that the left doesn't want that Donald Trump does, it's a constitutional crisis. And they hide behind all sorts of excuses to claim a constitutional crisis. Where's the constitutional crisis from Donald Trump? He's complied with all the judges. Abrego Garcia is back. He's complied with all the judges. Where is the constitutional crisis from Donald Trump? Meanwhile, the Constitution of the United States gives Congress the power of the purse. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excise, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties imposed and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. The Congress shall have the power to borrow money on the credit of the United States, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the states and with the Indian tribes, to establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcy, to coin money, regulate the value thereof and of foreign coin, and fix the standards and weights and measures, to provide for the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States, to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries, to constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court to define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas, to declare war, to raise and support armies, to make rules for the government and regulations of land and naval forces, to provide for calling forth the militia, to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, to exercise exclusive legislation over the District of Columbia, to make all laws which are necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers. Congress has the spending power. It's right there. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts, and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. That's the power of the purse. That is the historic understanding of the power of the purse. Under the Articles of Confederation, the Confederation Congress had authority to, quote, ascertain the necessary sums of money to be raised for the service of the United States and to appropriate and apply the same for defraying the public expenses. All charges of war and other expenses that were incurred for the common defense and general welfare were paid out of the common treasury. This is from Congress's website explaining the Constitution. For many of the founding generation, though, this power to determine necessary expenses had limited utility. The common treasury depended entirely on taxes levied by states under state law. If a state failed to supply its quota for national expenses, the Confederation Congress had few effective alternatives. For example, in 1782, New Jersey urged the Confederation Congress to put a stop to the practice of other states paying the wages of troops of their own line rather than contributing those sums to the common treasury. The Confederation Congress's response is that it had already done what it could to ensure the whole army would be regularly and duly paid, but setting revenue quotas for states. But given the lack of a national taxing power, only states could take the action. The Constitution ratified by the states plainly addressed the prior lack of national taxing. On one collection of views commonly associated with James Madison argued the Constitution was structured so that the general language of the spending clause was followed by specification of the objects alluded to by the general terms. The Madisonian view judged the validity of a particular spending measure by asking whether the spending addressed a subject within one of Congress's other enumerated powers. Alexander Hamilton took a broader view, Hamilton arguing the phrase the general welfare was as comprehensive as any that could be used. The phrase embraced subject matter of such wide variety that it defied further specification or definition, and that view has held. Funding Planned Parenthood or not is in the discretion of the United States Congress. And I got to say, the left has come up with some really stupid talking points to justify their constitutional crisis. David French has argued that under existing Supreme Court precedent, Congress saying you can't give money to Planned Parenthood is viewpoint discrimination because of the views of Planned Parenthood. Viewpoint discrimination and the appropriation clause don't jihad together, to use a Southern expression. Yeah, Congress cannot discriminate on the views of those that it gives money to, except Congress can appropriate money to whom it wishes to fund the general welfare. And if Congress does not believe you can fund the general welfare, they don't have to fund you. The power of the purse lies with Congress. So the fallback from viewpoint discrimination is a bill of attainder. Now you're wondering, Erickson, what, for the love of God, is a bill of attainder? Well, that's what you have me here for, because I happen to know what a bill of attainder actually is. You find the bill of attainder in Section 9 of Article 1. Section 8 is the enumerated powers of the Congress. Section 9 restricts the Congress's enumerated powers. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. Now, what is an ex post facto law? An ex post facto law only applies to criminal matters, and that is when someone does something Congress doesn't like, and then Congress passes a law to make it a criminal act. You can't go back and prosecute the person who violated that criminal law when it wasn't a criminal law. Bill of attainder is something else. A bill of attainder is something that finds an individual, a corporation, or a group guilty of a crime without a judicial trial and punishes them through an act of Congress. Legislation doesn't violate the Bill of Attainder Clause simply because it places a legal burden or a financial burden on a specific individual or group. It's got to be a specific finding by Congress that an individual or group is guilty of some crime, and Congress decides to punish them, but they've had no hearing through the judicial process. This is essentially a bill of attainder prevents the Congress from acting like the courts. And so this is the left's new argument, is that, you're punishing Planned Parenthood. You're punishing. Where's the crime? They haven't been accused of a crime. We actually have case law on this. Let me give you the history of the Bill of Attainder. 5 times in American history since 1789, roughly 236 years since the Constitution was ratified, only 5 times has the United States Supreme Court declared Congress violating the Bill of Attainder provision. In fact, it is the least successfully argued portion of Article 1, Section 9. Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, just so you know, says the Migration and Importation, that's the Slave Act, that was repealed. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. No capitation or other direct tax shall be levied unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein being directed or taken. No tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. No preference shall be given by any regulation of commerce or revenue to the ports of one state over another. No money shall be drawn from the treasury but in consequence of appropriation made by law. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. No state shall enter into a treaty, alliance, or confederation with another entity. Here's the problem. The Bill of Attainder prohibition conflicts with the Appropriations Clause. No money shall be drawn from the treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law. A number of years ago, 2009, the United States Congress defunded ACORN. Andrew Breitbart, God rest his soul, exposed ACORN for being a political action group to help the Democrats. He exposed the nefariousness of it, how it collaborated with far-left parties. ACORN itself went under financially, had all sorts of problems, and Congress passed a law prohibiting any federal dollars from going to ACORN. ACORN sued. It sued, and it had a progressive judge who granted victory to ACORN and said, yes, this is a bill of attainder. Congress has specifically targeted ACORN, said ACORN has behaved badly, and that Congress does not want ACORN to have any money from Congress. ACORN versus United States made its way to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which ruled that when Congress appropriates money, Congress gets to appropriate money to where Congress wants to appropriate money. And if Congress chooses not to appropriate money to a group, though it may constitute a financial hardship on that group, Congress is allowed to stop funding entities that Congress has previously chosen to fund. If Congress says this group is allowed to get money and then Congress says this group can no longer get money, that is not a bill of attainder. That is the election changing the perspective of Congress, allowing Congress to change its mind. It's not a bill of attainder. That case is exactly like the argument being made in Planned Parenthood. In fact, in the 236 years since the Constitution was founded, only 5 times has the Supreme Court said Congress violated a bill of attainder, and only one of those times involved an appropriation. In fact, the United States Supreme Court and the federal court system has rejected more cases about bills of attainder than they've accepted. And almost every, with the one exception in American history, with one exception, every single case brought about in a Congress rejecting an appropriation has been thrown out of court, saying Congress gets to stop funding who Congress wants to stop funding. There's only one exception. The one exception were 5 federal employees. Congress was not specifically appropriating funds to them. They happen to be federal employees. And Congress determined that these 5 individuals belonged to the Communist Party in the 1950s and passed a specific law saying that these 5 individuals, because they were communists, could not be paid out of the federal treasury. Went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that's a bill of attainder. Why? Because Congress did not generally appropriate funds to these 5 individuals. They were just federal employees. So their departments were funded money to pay salaries of employees, and they happen to be 5 employees. And without a judicial finding that they violated the acts relating to members of the Communist Party, Congress made its own determination without giving them due process, and that's a bill of attainder. That's the only time Congress has ever been accused of or been found by the courts of violating the bill of attainder for appropriation measures. The fact that a federal judge in 2025 has decided that Congress, which has the power of the purse, must fund Planned Parenthood is the constitutional crisis the left has been warning us about. The problem is, as so often with the left, their mass hysteria claims of problems always wind up coming from the left. From the violence to the constitutional crises, the left is just projecting themselves on everyone else. This is a federal judge causing a constitutional crisis, not Donald Trump.
Have something to say? Hello. Call the show. 1-877-97-ERIC. That's 1-877-973-7425.
1221 Coolray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still got this stalled big rig in the right lane, 285 northbound, the outer loop, southeast leg of town, right before I-20, exit 46 there in DeKalb County. Right lane still being held, 985 northbound past the I-85 split. That's a stalled big rig and some fuel spill cleanup in the right lane as well. Keeping you slow as you leave Suwanee heading up to Sugar Hill and Buford. Traffic brought to you by Sam's Club. There's still time to enjoy locked-in summer value at Sam's Club. Till July 22nd, prices are held on over 1,000 items. Join now and make the most of summer, so sign up for a membership at samsclub.com/join. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
You're by the pool.
You're relaxing.
You're sipping a drink.
Someone brings you a towel.
Adjust the umbrella.
Sound like a fantasy?
It's not if you win $1,000 from WSB.
It's WSB's $1,000 Thursdays this Thursday.
Listen for the keyword at 9, 10, and 11 a.m. and 12, 1, 2, and 3 p.m.
Enter the keyword at WSBradio.com or the WSB app within that hour, and you could win $1,000. Get all the info at WSBradio.com.
$1,000 Thursdays
from 95.5 WSB,
where Atlanta wins.
Your friends at Steel Horse Law are motorcycle injury lawyers who ride. They've mastered safely riding our Georgia roads, and they've mastered the unexpected twists and turns of Georgia law. Hey, it's Eric Von Hessler for Steel Horse Law, the Stein and Karen Law Group. With all the changes in Georgia law, you need the most experienced local motorcycle injury law firm to protect your rights. You can trust them on the road and in the courtroom. Get a free case evaluation at steelhorselaw.com.
This upcoming health tip is brought to you by Kroger Pharmacy. During allergy season, your clothing and hair could be covered with pollen. So when you get home, it's not a bad idea to change your clothes and toss them in the laundry. You could also take a shower to rinse off any allergen left on your skin or in your hair. Your neighborhood Kroger Pharmacy is happy to welcome back Express Scripts, Medicare D, and TRICARE Department of Defense Plan members. It's easy to transfer prescriptions at Kroger.com/pay-or-update. See your Kroger Pharmacy for details.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of Atlanta. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of Atlanta. You can't win if you don't enter. Enter now at overheaddooratlanta.com. That's overheaddooratlanta.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-575-2798.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call
800-575-2798. That's 800-575-2798.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
This is Scott Slade, updating my health story. I get a checkup every year, and last September, my primary care physician was troubled by a suspicious number on my lab work. Well, that led to a diagnosis early enough to give me options, and I'm more optimistic than ever about a good outcome. Now, when we're talking about our health, level with your providers. If you think you have a problem, we all need expert eyes looking us over every so often. That's where virtual imaging can be invaluable. Virtual Imaging's LDCT body scan can give you time and options for early treatment, especially for cancer. They can detect tumors as early as precancerous virtually anywhere in your body, and aneurysms you may not even know are there. For a limited time, Virtual Imaging is extending their core body scan offer for only $995 per scan. That's a $2,495 value. Early detection saves lives, and now it's more affordable than ever. Virtual Imaging has gotten such great response, they've opened up more times in both offices. But appointments will fill up fast for this offer, so don't wait. Some minimum requirements may apply. Early detection is your best protection. To schedule your Virtual Imaging $995 core body scan, call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com. That's virtualimagingatl.com. Do it now while you still have options.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Greetings, welcome. It is Eric Jurgensen here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, Donald Trump has decided he's going to start funding Ukraine again after the Russians. Vladimir Putin talked to Donald Trump. They had apparently a good conversation, and within minutes of the conversation, the Russians unleashed more hell on Ukraine. The president, having had enough of it, has decided that we're going to start arming the Ukrainians with more weapons. So we'll see where this goes. I wonder if a federal judge will enjoin him from doing it. We'll get into more of this later. It's just an interesting note how the isolationists within the administration are continuing to lose on Iran and now this. And the bizarre Tucker Carlson interview with the Iranian president, who, by the way, is not actually the leader of Iran, and that's an important point I don't want you to miss. The leader of Iran is actually the Grand Ayatollah, who Carlson did not interview. It's just interesting that he decided not only to do that, but then he was very aggressive with Ted Cruz and not so much with the president of Iran, which I find interesting, that he wanted to be as aggressive as he was with Ted Cruz while giving the Ayatollah or the president of Iran a pass. Now, the president spoke at the White House. This is him.
For more than 20 years. Can you imagine? Yeah.
On Ukraine, Mr. President, are you planning to send more weapons to Ukraine?
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons primarily, but they're getting hit very, very hard. So many people are dying in that mess.
Defensive weapons primarily, meaning some of the weapons will actually be weapons for Ukraine to go on offense. The president increasingly, sources in the White House say, impressed by Ukraine's efforts. Old Glory Bank, I'm impressed with their efforts. I moved banking to Old Glory Bank 2 years ago. Read an article actually in the newspaper about them starting, and a friend of mine turns out was connected with them and helped them get off the ground. And it's a genius bank. They were by conservatives for conservatives. They did not want people to worry about the debanking trends that the left was pushing. So they started Old Glory Bank, and the rest is really history. OldGloryBank.com is their website. If you go to oldglorybank.com/Eric, you can sign up for checking and savings account. They have premium accounts. Now, I've got the no-fee checking and no-fee savings account, but you get the premium ones. If you're a veteran, you can even get one where they waive the fees and you get interest on your checking account. They do loans and they do CDs. I mean, they're a real bank, and they're a great bank. You can even deposit cash, even though they're an online bank. They're remarkable. If your kid needs a bank account, Old Glory Bank is the future. OldGloryBank.com/Eric. OldGloryBank.com/Eric, ERICK. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply.
Where you're going is a given. How you're getting there?
Well, that's the question.
We will start to see some delays if they shut that ramp down on 285 East.
Before you hit the navigation
You're going to be slowing right around Hudson Bridge Road.
Listen to the people you can trust.
And really slow out of Ackworth into Emerson.
Updated traffic as often as you need it every time you listen.
We had a lot going on this morning through Henry County.
More experience, more reliable, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, triple team traffic.
95.5 WSB. How Atlanta gets there.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12:30. This news is sponsored by Jim Ellis Automotive. This is new. Atlanta homicide investigating a deadly stabbing at an Airbnb rental in Midtown Atlanta. This is at the Piedmont Arbor Townhome Community on Piedmont Avenue near 11th Street. Detectives talking to neighbors and collecting ring camera video right now. A few details are being released at this time. We'll bring you more as we get it. Going to be really hot this afternoon, headed for a high of 96, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. And speaking of the heat, Cobb County Police releasing new video today of 2 kids being rescued from a hot car in Cobb County last month.
It's okay, baby. It's okay. Oh, you're hot.
Now, the temperature in that car was estimated to be 117 degrees. Two Good Samaritans called 911 to report those two children alone and locked in the hot car at Cumberland Mall. The father of the children now charged with second-degree cruelty to children. The Trump administration and Congress holding a news conference earlier today about new attempts to cut down on foreign ownership of ag businesses and land, particularly targeting China and the Chinese Communist Party. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
As someone who's charged with leading the Defense Department, I want to know who owns the land around our bases and strategic bases, and getting an understanding of why foreign entities, foreign companies, foreign individuals might be buying up land around those bases.
Now, the administration has a map showing land owned by Chinese nationals close to a couple dozen major military installations. It's 12:32.
The perfect match for your next roof is Fenley Roofing. Fenley has already helped over 65,000 Georgia families and has over 2,000 five-star reviews. So you'll be sure you get your roof done right. Learn more at FenleyRoofing.com.
This is Andy Harris, President of Coosa Valley Credit Union, with a personal invitation for you to join our newest branches in Woodstock, Canton, or Dallas. We've been in business in Northwest Georgia for 70 years, and we're proud to now offer kinder banking to Cobb, Cherokee, and Paulding County, where you'll always speak to a real person. With 11 locations, Coosa Valley Credit Union is always local and nearby. Experience kinder banking and stop in a Coosa Valley Credit Union branch near you.
Properties come in all shapes and sizes, and so do foundation repairs. Mark Beckham here. It could be new construction, a big house, a small house, or your commercial property. Anyway, you need the leaders in foundation repair to handle it. Get your free estimate at atlantaramjack.com.
Men, trouble in the bedroom? Not anymore. Priority Men's Medical Center restores your love life in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Priority Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Priority Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 404-885-8885. 404-885-8885. To restore your love life in just one visit, call now. 404-885-8885.
Hey, it's Scott Slade for FGA Roofing. If your home's exterior could use an updated look, or maybe one of your neighbor's designer roofs has caught your eye, and your current roof has started to show its age, then now's the perfect time to check out FGA Roofing for the latest in architectural shingles, timberland shingles, and more. Slate, tile, wood shake, cedar roofs, FGA has them all. FGA Roofing offers 0% financing for 12 months with your good credit. Get the roof you want now and pay over time. Click firstgaroof.com. That's firstgaroof.com.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather. Here's Alex Williams.
Just had all lanes blocked and reopened in Marietta. 75 northbound Highway 5 exit 267. Hero got a stall off to the right. Also a southbound crash in the same area. 75 south past North Marietta Parkway. That just cleared out of a left lane and still got the stall in the right lane to cab. 285 northbound the outer loop approaching I-20 exit 46. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly cloudy, hot and humid with a high of 96. An isolated pop-up shower can't be ruled out. Lows tonight in the mid-70s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a few more pop-up storms. High 94. Scattered rain showers and thunderstorms on Thursday. Highs in the upper 80s to low 90s.
We have partly cloudy skies here in Midtown Atlanta, 91 degrees. More news at 1 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. 95.5 WSB.
Hello and welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. I have been warning people for quite a while about the growing violence on the left, and it's coming to bear. And there's some wild stories out there now that are percolating, and we really we need to spend a moment addressing the situation because it actually is that significant. It's become a growing problem as progressives decide they need to turn violent. When RedState.com started, in 2004. Before I took over as the editor, I was one of the senior writers. I was still practicing in my law firm, and I wrote a piece. Remember Cindy Sheehan? Her son died in the war, and she went down to Texas and would camp outside of Camp Crawford, where George W. Bush would vacation, and the media would go down there, and she would attack the president, attack the war. It turned out that most of her family apparently didn't agree with her positions, and they resented her using her son's memory to perpetuate her own anti-war agenda. And I wrote a piece that said she dragged the memory of her dead son to Texas to belittle the cause he died for, to shame the president during an election year, something like that. I had left-wing agitators doxed me. I didn't even know what doxing was. That's where they put your information online. People started calling my house and leaving angry voicemails. They found my where I worked, and they started calling the managing partner of my law firm to demand that I be fired. In fact, the managing partner of my law firm was a Marine, and he came down to my office and said he was getting these angry phone calls. And was it true what I wrote? And I said, yes. And he said, well, you should have been harsher. Don't worry about it. Was deeply offended by the woman essentially saying her son had died in vain. That was my first taste of angry left-wing activists. Subsequently, as I wrote about, for example, gay marriage or my Christian worldview and offended progressive activists, I had people mail inappropriate stuff to my house. I got pornography in the mail, sex toys in the mail, had people show up in my driveway. At one point, someone showed up in my driveway, parked there in the middle of the night, blew the horn, threw trash in the driveway, and drove off. It was angry left-wing activists. They wanted me to know that they knew where I lived. They wanted me to be scared, and little did they know all it did was teach me I needed to get a firearm and learn how to shoot. I've experienced hate from Trump supporters as well. I mean, as y'all know, we had Trump supporters show up at our house to threaten us in 2016 when I said I couldn't vote for Trump. Had my children harassed and chased through a store. I understood the antagonism from people on my side who didn't like my position on Trump because I understood they felt betrayed by me. On the left, though, it's like I'm stating my opinion and you don't like it, and so you're trying to get me fired. The left has for a very long time increasingly been unhinged, and in fact, what we have found over time, all of us have seen, is that when the left gets out of power, the left tends to get unhinged. I need to tell you what happened the other day. No. You know, yesterday in McAllen, Texas, a progressive activist showed up at an ICE facility and shot a police officer through the knee and another law enforcement officer before he himself was gunned down. But on Friday, on the 4th of July, I bet you haven't heard this story in the media. I have seen a couple of people tweet about it. In fact, I got to tell you, I wasn't sure it actually happened because I hadn't seen it in the press, but it turns out it's true. On Friday, 8 to 10 individuals launched fireworks and vandalized an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, drawing a law enforcement presence. A 911 call was made. Multiple shooters opened fire through a tree line, wounding an arriving officer. These are 10 militants and an 11th co-conspirator formed a cell, selected a target, and carried out a coordinated attack. There's an operational evolution happening on the left as it's coordinating. This happened down in Georgia. In Georgia, there was a police training facility they were building. Antifa showed up, and the media, likes to dismiss that Antifa is real. Antifa actually is a real thing. It is a more unorganized movement than some. But these left-wing activists came into Georgia, and close to 100 of them were arrested. Only one of them was from the state of Georgia, you should know. They firebombed a youth facility that had been built by the general contractor of the place building the police facility. They firebombed a fire department. They also would set fires on the property to summon the firefighters, and then when the firefighters got there, they would shoot them, or at least attempt to. They were bad shots. One of them wound up getting killed when they tried to ambush a police officer. The police officer got shot. The police officer managed to kill the Antifa activist. They rioted through downtown Atlanta. This did not get a lot of national coverage, but it actually happened in Atlanta. In the same way, this situation in Texas has not gotten much national coverage, but you had close to a dozen armed activists caused a disturbance at an ICE facility to summon law enforcement to the facility, and they laid an ambush for the law enforcement authorities to show up and then began to gun them down. Now, in Georgia, the attorney general in Georgia is a guy named Chris Carr, and he decided to organize a RICO lawsuit against these activists. And the whole thing collapsed in on itself. I'm thinking we need more RICO lawsuits. There's a guy online. His name is Mike Shelby. I don't know who he is. I'm a little bit dubious about some of his claims that he makes in some cases, but he's laid it out pretty well. Didn't put it in. Didn't really put it out there much, and not retweeting everything he said, but retweeting him generally. So that if you want to see his thread, you can. He's not the most reliable person, I would think, but on this, he actually got the details pretty good. Got the pictures of the mugshots and things like that. This is happening on the left. They're increasingly becoming violent. Now, here's the other thing. This is an Axios story. At town halls in their districts and in one-on-one meetings with constituents and activists, Democratic members of Congress are facing a growing thrum of demands to break the rules, fight dirty, and not be afraid to get hurt. House Democrats told Axios they see a growing anger among their base that has, in some cases, morphed into a disregard for American institutions, political traditions, and even the rule of law. The idea that we're going to save every norm and that we're not going to play Republican games, I don't think that's resonating with voters anymore, said one House Democrat. Another said a sense of fear and despair and anger among voters puts us in a different position where we can't keep following norms of decorum. Now, in some cases, Democrats have tried to up the ante. They've heckled Trump. They've mounted rogue impeachment attempts. They got tackled by law enforcement. They even indicted in their efforts to scrutinize the president's deportation campaign. The grassroots activists want more. Now, listen to this. Some of them have suggested we really need to be willing to get shot when visiting ICE facilities, says a third Democrat. Our own base is telling us that what we're doing isn't good enough, that there needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public. A fourth Democrat said constituents have told them civility isn't working. We need to prepare for violence to fight to protect our democracy. A fifth House Democrat said people online have sent me crazy stuff, told me to storm the White House and stuff like that. There are always people on the internet saying crazy stuff. A sixth House Democrat said when they try to persuade voters to channel their frustrations into winning back Congress, people get angry and don't accept that. They're angry beyond things. It's like the Roman Colosseum. People just want more and more of the spectacle. What's so interesting is one particular line. What I have seen is a demand that we get ourselves arrested intentionally or allow ourselves to be victims of violence. And a lot of times that's coming from economically very secure white people. Not only would that be a gift to Donald Trump, not only would it make the job of Republicans in Congress easier if we were all mired in legal troubles, we are a group that is disproportionately people of color, women, LGBTQ people who do not fare very well in prison. The expectations aren't just unreal, they're dangerous, says this House Democrat. A ninth lawmaker told Axios, I actually said in a meeting, when they light a fire, my thought is to grab a fire extinguisher, and someone at the table yelled, have you tried gasoline? It's the white progressives and their friends who are getting very angry. Now, I got to read you from a website. I don't want to give you the name of the website. The guy is increasingly unhinged, really, really, really upset about things. He's a hyper-progressive socialist. He's got an interesting website on technology and stuff, but he does. There's no undo button for our fallen democracy. Tressie McMillan Cottonham, one of America's leading public intellectuals, according to this guy, posted this on, of course, Blue Sky. So this is from Tressie McMillan Cottonham. I'm going to be very honest and clear. I am fully preparing myself to die under this new American regime. That's not to say that it's the end of the world. It isn't. But I am almost 50 years old. It will take so long to do anything with this mess that this is the new normal for me. I do hope a lot of you run. I hope you vote sure, maybe do a general strike or rent strike, all great. But I spent the last week reading things, and this is not for me an electoral fix. So now I will spend time reflecting on how to integrate this normal into my understanding of the future. Most of this will be personal. Some of it will be public. How we move in the world. Right now, I know that I need to make a decision on my risk sensitivity. How much can I take? I also had to meditate hard on accepting the randomness of that risk. No amount of strategy can protect me. Those are the things I am thinking about. Anil Dash, a writer and technology guy, responds, yeah, I keep telling people this is the rest of my life fight, and they don't want to hear it. Meg Ellison, an author, responded, I've been thinking something like this for a few months now. We will fight and we will resist, etc., but we will also not live the lives we picked out and planned on. They're not available anymore. And a therapist, Lee McElrath, since Trump regained office, I've talked about this both gently and bluntly to try to help people understand that we lived in one era, but we're going to die in another. I know my probable life expectancy, and at 61, I have about 15 years left. And then someone else said, we're all going to have to start planting shade trees we fully know we'll never sit under. Now, this is the guy whose website it is. Listen to this. Cottam nails how I've been feeling for the past few months, and honestly, why it's been a little uneven around here. America's democratic collapse has been coming for years, always just over the horizon. But when everything that happened during Trump's first 3 months in office happened, and here's the important part, shockingly little was done by the few groups, Congress, the Supreme Court, the Democratic Party, American corporations, and other large institutions and media companies who had the power to counter it, I knew it was over. And over in a way that is irreversible for a good long while at least. Since then, I've been recalibrating and grieving, feeling angry, furious really, fighting resignation, trying not to fall prey to doomerism, and subsequently spreading it to others. This post is perhaps an exception, but I believe, as Cottam does, in being honest and clear when times call for it, getting out, biking, so much biking, paying less attention to the news, trying to celebrate other facets of our collective humanity, or just being silly and stupid, feeling overwhelmed, feeling numb, but also occasionally somehow hope. All of this is exhausting, destabilizing. I don't know what I'm doing or what I should be doing or how I can be the most service to most people. Put on your oxygen mask before assisting others, they say. Is my mask on yet? I don't know. How can I even tell? I barely know what I'm trying to say and don't know how to end this post, so I'm just going to say that the comments are open, and I'll be back here after the holiday. That would be Independence Day. These people are losing their minds. Listen to this comment from the same guy, responding to himself. Right off the bat, I'd like to emphasize that as a middle-aged, straight white guy, my concerns about myself and my life, while real and of great personal importance to me, are a mere ripple in the ocean compared to the absolute carnage that will be done to devastated communities in the U.S. and around the world by this regime. So many people are going to suffer and die. The grief and anger I feel is primarily for those needlessly shattered futures. Really? Really? What has life really changed for you? Really? Your taxes are going to go down? You're not going to get a tax on tips. You know, Hispanic voters, and this is the wild part here, these are a lot of white progressives and their friends in the non-white community who think like them in the elite institutions. And you know what? Donald Trump won the Hispanic vote. He got an increasing share of the black vote. He won the popular vote, and these people think democracy is over. This is like Gollum losing his ring. They just can't handle not being in power. That's what this is about. They think the world is on fire, democracy is over, simply because they are not in charge of it. Talk about narcissism. Americans for Prosperity would love to have you involved with them. They're the leading and largest grassroots group in the country. They happen to be on our side. They advance common sense conservative reforms around the country down to the local level. They have activists in all 50 states. They have organized movements in, I think, 48 of the 50 states right now. They want you involved. You can just become a very informed person on what's going on, or they can teach you how to reach out to your friends and family and neighbors to keep them informed, or even how to build a persuasive case for the right side of the argument in history. All you have to do is go to americansforprosperity.org. Sign up at americansforprosperity.org today. They'd love to get you involved. They'd love to show you the ropes. They'd love to just keep you informed and have your voice heard on common sense conservative reforms, from school choice in your state to common sense tax reforms in Washington. Solutions across the board. It's americansforprosperity.org. Sign up with them today. americansforprosperity.org.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you the truth.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
1252, Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still trying to clear up this stalled big rig in the right lane in the southeast part of the perimeter. 285 northbound, the outer loop, I-20 exit 46. Still in the right lane at times, holding all lanes, trying to clear that up. Getting slower into downtown, heading southbound from the 85-400 merge as you head down past North Avenue. Northbound a little sluggish, University Avenue up to 10th Street, where debris just cleared out of the left lanes. Traffic brought to you by Sam's Club. There's still time to enjoy locked-in summer value at Sam's Club till July 22nd. Prices are held on over 1,000 items. Join now and make the most of summer, so sign up for a membership at samsclub.com/join. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
He's the guy at the desk next to you.
Why do you always go after the game show host of The Price is Right?
He's your co-pilot for the ride home.
Don't tell me how to handle my life.
Eric Von Hessler.
Or anyone else.
Today at 3.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
You should never need financing for a simple garage door repair, but it's happening here. Out-of-town companies have invaded Atlanta for a cash grab, charging outrageous prices. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage, Entry Doors, and Windows. Stay local and stay on budget for every opening of your home. All Four Seasons, trusted in Atlanta for over 25 years, exceptional customer service, and fair, honest pricing. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 Seasons Garages.
Hey, y'all, it's Eric Erickson here. Do you know the difference between strategy and tactics? As somebody ran campaigns, I always find people sometimes they engage in tactics. We steer the ship left and then right, starboard, port, left, right, slow down, speed up. But do you make sense of it? The strategy is the overall picture of how you want to accomplish your goal. And then the tactics are the individual things you do to accomplish the strategy to meet your goal. And when you're dealing with your retirement, you need a financial advisor who understands that. That's David Nicholas, Nicholas Wealth Management. My wife and I actually sat down with David and mapped out our goals for the future and our retirement and realized that we had engaged in a series of tactics, but we really didn't have a comprehensive overall strategy that made it work. You want a comprehensive overall strategy so that when you hit retirement, well, you've met your goals. And David Nicholas can help you do that. You sit down with David today, and he can give you a free wealth analysis. Christy and I did this with him. You can do this with him, and you're going to get a strategy. You're not just going to have a financial advisor who's deploying a bunch of tactics without the overall strategy to get you to meet your goal. Talk to David and his team at nicholaswealth.com. Call them at 678-990-8500. That's 678-990-8500 or nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and particular needs of any person who listens to this show. Eric Erickson is a current client and is paid for this ad.
Dad, how do you fix all those air conditioners in this heat?
Well, I stay cool knowing I'm keeping other families comfortable.
That's what we do at Jape Services. We're a family-owned company, and we take pride in showing up on time, doing the job right, and treating every home with respect.
Like how you always wear those boot covers inside, and how you triple check everything before you leave.
That's the Jape Services way.
So, if you need an AC tune-up or repair, call our dad at Jape Services.
From our family to yours, we'll keep your home cool and comfortable all summer long.
You're ready for a new deck, but don't know where to start. You can DIY, use an unlicensed chuck in a truck, an overpriced luxury designer, or you can choose us. Hi, I'm Scott Nelson, owner of Nelson Exteriors, and we do decks differently. We build beautiful, high-end decks at a reasonable price with lots of options. We're licensed and insured. We'll work with the materials you choose and stay within your budget. Call Nelson Exteriors for an extraordinary deck renovation. Google Nelson Exteriors.
WSB Atlanta, WSB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
Join Eric's army of activists and let your voice be heard. Text ARMY to 33777.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Eric Erickson here. I am delighted to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I want to go. I got time here, I think. Charlie calling from Magnolia, Kentucky. You're going to be up first. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I love your show. Hey,
Thank
you.
you.
I have a question about the Epstein case. But by chance, before I mention that, can I briefly comment about the Antifa topic you brought up?
Yeah, but be quick. We only got about a minute and a half.
Well, Antifa is a huge problem on the West Coast. I was born in Seattle, used to live near Portland. We don't hear much about out here in the East, but boy, Antifa is huge, and I hope you get a chance to talk about that more in the future. Also,
sure.
Okay, now the Epstein case. One of the things that I haven't heard discussed yet was it's not about the list. Honestly, I don't care about the list. I care about the big picture. And when they did that dog and pony show and they released that old information, Pam Bondi said, there was 1,000 pages in New York field office that I had been shared with me. When I get that, I'm going to release that. I've not heard anybody talking about what's in those 1,000 pages, and why is she not releasing those?
Okay. If you can hang on for about 30 minutes, I got that topic on my list at the bottom of the next hour to talk about, because I know the answer, and the answer comes from Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. The long and the short of it, Charlie, is that they said those documents that she said existed didn't exist, and that they don't know where she got the information from. And that's why this Pam Bondi spectacle is so bad, is she said a lot of stuff that was directly contradicted by Patel and Bongino. And today at the White House, the president's furious. People are still talking about Epstein. Just got that audio. I'll play it after we get back.
Hey, I'm Chris Chandler. When you join us Wednesday, starting at 5 a.m. for Atlanta's Morning News, we'll have the latest overnight info from the flood disaster zone in Texas, breaking metro stories from overnight, too. It'll be an important day in the ongoing tariff story. We'll tell you what that means for you and how Clark Howard cuts through the noise when it comes to car insurance. Plus our exclusive 5-day forecast on Atlanta's Morning News right here on 95.5 WSB.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
A few years ago, my youngest son had something minor turned into something very major in a matter of hours.
It was Medi-Share that came through for us, and there was no hassles, there was no problem.
That's what's so wonderful about knowing that you're a part of such an incredible ministry.
Medi-Share is a biblical approach to healthcare where Christians share each other's medical expenses.
Medi-Share is a family, a group of people that stick with you through the hardest times of your life.
Medi-Share isn't insurance. It's a nonprofit ministry over 30 years old, and members have shared over $8 billion of each other's medical bills.
We don't have to spend so much on health insurance. You can focus that on supporting other people.
Medi-Share is affordable.
Medi-Share is biblical.
Medi-Share is family. Join thousands of Christians who can help you save on your health care and support your family when you need it. Call 855-51-BIBLE, 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE.
News, weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. President Trump at his cabinet meeting today says that he will tour the flood devastation in Texas later this week.
I'll be going down on Friday with First Lady. We'll be taking a trip, and we don't want to get in anyone's way because that's what happens. The president goes and everyone's around focused on. I don't want anyone to focus on us.
The death toll from the flooding is now more than 100. There are still some who are missing. Your weather here today, it's going to be very hot. Afternoon highs around 96. We do have a chance of a pop-up storm later on. We'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes. Atlanta police investigating a deadly stabbing. It happened at an Airbnb rental. This is at the Piedmont Arbor Townhome Community on Piedmont Avenue near 11th Street. Detectives talking to neighbors, collecting Ring camera video. Few details being released at this time. This is new at 1 o'clock. Buyer beware. Billboards are going up now on I-75 near Truist Park to fight sex trafficking that often accompanies large sporting events.
Jasmine Vafa of Rights for Girls says there's a great deal more to All-Star Week than you may think, and it has to do with sex trafficking.
Aside from the fun and the excitement and the festivities surrounding the games, that there can be this dark underbelly of sexual exploitation and trafficking that can accompany the games.
Vafa says the group has received many responses during past postings thanking them for the message. This time, the baseball lingo billboards will put the sex buyer in the batter's box with such messages as sex buying is a serious error. Lisa Nicholas, 95.5 WSB.
Now to Cobb County, they're holding their first of 3 public hearings on the proposed 2026 budget.
The $1.3 billion measure represents a $48 million increase over the 2025 spending plan and holds property taxes steady, brings down water transfer fees by 1%, and raises county employee pay. Commission Chairwoman Lisa Cupid says they want to ensure things run effectively.
And that does require for us to make sure that we have a steady and able workforce and a committed workforce to do that.
Another hearing is set for July 16th with a final hearing and vote expected on July 22nd. In Cobb County, Jonathan O'Brien, 95.5 WSB.
All right, let's check your money. The Dow right now is down 139 at 44,267. NASDAQ is in positive territory, but only slightly, and the S&P's in the red. It's 102.
It's Eric, and one of the questions I get asked all the time is, Erickson, where do I get a computer? I don't want to worry about the setup and all the tech support stuff. Y'all, you go to Vision Computers. Call them at 404-COMPUTE. Listen, when you call Vision, you're not getting stuck in a maze of hold music or menus. They answer the phone 15 seconds on average. That's right, 15 seconds. Real people, real help, real fast, right when you need it. And here's the part I love. You got an older computer, you got programs you rely on. Maybe QuickBooks or a niche software for your small business. You're afraid a new computer means losing it all or spending days doing transfers. Vision Computers got you covered. As long as your software is supported in Windows 11, they can move all your programs from your old computer to the new one efficiently, safely, and fast. It's like handing off all the hassle to someone who's an expert and knows what they're doing. So if you're thinking your old computer is fine but slowing down, maybe time for a new one. Call 404-COMPUTE today. That's 404-COMPUTE. Let Vision Computers take care of everything. You're never going to want to buy a computer another way.
The foods we eat can be downright bad for our health. This is Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've been teaching the truth about real bread. Not the stuff you buy at the store. I'm talking real bread made with freshly milled flour. When you buy bread from the store, take a look at the ingredients. Enriched flour means that the nutritious bran and germ has been removed to improve the shelf life. Then a few B vitamins and iron are added back to replace the multitude of nutrients lost. That's not enrichment in my book. And today, that label may even read contains bioengineered food ingredients. Food should never be bioengineered. At Bread Beckers in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real bread loaded with fiber and nutrients. A delicious, healthy, affordable solution that can improve your health and change your life. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
The Scott Antique Markets is back at the Atlanta Expo Center, featuring hundreds of vendors with collectibles and merchandise from all over the world. We're on both sides of I-285 exit 55 on Jonesboro Road. Visit ScottAntiqueMarket.com for more information.
Has the heat brought out the stink in your basement? Water damage? Musty odors? Mold? Dave Baker here. Let AquaGuard Foundation Solutions fix it once and for all and keep your basement dry year-round. Visit AquaGuard.net for your free inspection. AquaGuard.
It's 105. That means it's time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center. How are we doing on the roads?
And just found new trouble in Norcross, Sabrina. It's a crash 85 northbound before Indian Trail Road, exit 101. Was just blocking a center lane, but fire rescue has pulled up to the scene, so multiple right lanes are blocked now. If it stays that way, I'm going to send you over to Buford Highway to use that as an alternate. Still got the stalled big rig in the right lane into Cab, 285 northbound, the outer loop, just before I-20, exit 46. That's slowing the ride a little bit before flat shoals, but no need for an alternate. And southbound into town, you're seeing the brake lights 85 south from 400 and Beaufort Spring Connector south from City Marcus, all trying to make your way into Midtown. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly cloudy, hot today, high 96. Watching for an isolated pop-up shower or thunderstorm. Lows tonight in the mid-70s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, high 94 with isolated pop-up storms. Scattered rain showers and thunderstorms on Thursday. Highs in the upper 80s to low 90s.
92 degrees in Chambly. Milton has 91 degrees, and it's 90 in Ackworth. More news at 1:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, I'm going to dive into the heavy subject here because this happens every time bad things happen. And this ties to the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, which I'll get into more detail at the bottom of the hour. It ties into the awfulness in Texas. There are now over 100 people dead in Texas from the floods. There are still children missing from Camp Mystic. There are parents who will never see their children again. There are the awful, awful stories. We put one in show notes yesterday of the daughters who called their father and told him they loved him as they were floating away in a river to their death. He was saving their cousins on a different part of the river. The cousins lived, his own kids died. When things like this happen, internet trolls spilling over into reality, they want to know why bad things happen. Why did God let this happen? Why did your imaginary sky fairy do this? Now, here's what they don't want to confront, and I want to deal with this up front. This is one reason their growing group of people have conspiracy theories detached from a worldview that believes in God. Their conspiracy theories are, for example, there's cloud seeding. In fact, let me read you a tweet from someone who put this up on an anonymous account on Twitter. 100 billion gallons of water slammed Kerr County, more than Niagara Falls in a day. On July 4th, Texas didn't get rain. It got weaponized water. More than Niagara Falls dumps in a day, all dropped on Kerr County. Entire towns underwater, roads gone, homes wrecked. And it just so happened to hit right after active cloud seeding operations were reported. This isn't natural. It's engineered. It's wake up. Now, what you need to understand, first of all, this is a monetized conspiracy theory account on Twitter, but more and more people are circulating these things. It was cloud seeding. You see what's happening here. There are a lot of people who have intellectualized God out of the picture. They believe that mankind is such a dominant force, we control everything, and therefore it must be cloud seeding. 2 to 3 days before what happened in Kerr County, there was a cloud seeding project. Now, I'm not an expert in this, but I actually do know something about cloud seeding. It was pioneered in Middle Eastern countries back when I was a kid growing up overseas. We actually had a guy come to our school when I was a kid and explain it to us. It's fascinating technology. And essentially, they take silver iodide particles, sometimes with table salt. They sprinkle it in clouds, and it can cause clouds that might rain to rain. Here's what we actually know that's actually documented and not actually in dispute in Kerr County, Texas. The cloud seeding happened 2 days beforehand, downwind from where these storms started. These storms were predicted to come in even before the cloud seeding. The cloud seeding dissipates, it amounted to a single cup, 8 ounces of salt sprinkled into the air. A cup. You can't generate weather like this from a cup of table salt and silver iodine in the air. You just can't. In fact, you can't generate storm systems like this from Cloud City. We know the technology has been around now since I was a kid. We know what it can and cannot do. We also know that it is impossible, based on the jet stream from where the particulate was put in the air, to wind up where the storm started, because the wind would have blown it in the opposite direction and it would have diffused it anyway. So, no, just stop with the conspiracy theory. Stop. Bad things have always happened. You know, in 1987, another storm came through Kerr County, Texas, and killed a bunch of kids. And it happened in the 1960s. It has happened every several decades in that area. Why? Because it doesn't get a lot of rain. The ground gets compacted. It's hard for the water to get absorbed. The creek beds are shallow. The water spills out and people die. You know, bad things have happened through history. The government is not out to get you, and what these conspiracy theorists are doing is they're substituting God for government. So what about God? Because then you get this: if it's not the government, why did God let it happen? What they don't want to acknowledge is that in their worldview, there are random bad acts, and we just die, and the worms eat our bodies, and that's it, and the world is cruel and unfair. And some of those people then embrace the government conspiracies because that then gives them someone to blame for the cruelness and the unfairness, and the others blame God. My wife has 2 children and incurable stage 4 lung cancer. The amount of secular atheists who do not like me, who challenge me and say, if you really believe in God, why did he give your wife cancer? These same people are right now saying, if God is real, why did he let those children die? Why did God murder those kids? God didn't do it. We don't get to escape the bad things from this world. That's basic Christian theology. It's basic Jewish theology. It's basic Muslim theology. It's basic theology. We don't get to escape the bad things in this world. And God didn't either. He wants a relationship with us so bad. He was born of a virgin in a manger, lived a perfect life, and despite living a perfect life with giving people no reason to kill him, he was still murdered by humanity despite having never committed a crime. All of the world's sins piled up on him at one time on the cross, so much so the sky went dark because even the sun couldn't bear to look at the biggest sinner to ever live. As Martin Luther has noted, before Christ on the cross was the greatest sinner to ever live, because all the sins of all the world, past, present, and future, were piled up on one man. If you believe the basic theology of the Judeo-Christian worldview, Adam and Eve were made in the image of God, and I believe they were real. And they lived in paradise. And because they were made in the image and likeness of God, they had free will. And they chose sin. They chose to eat the apple of knowledge that the serpent, the Satan, convinced them to eat. And it opened their eyes in ways they did not expect. God had told them they would die if they ate of that apple. And Satan said, no, you won't. Well, they didn't die immediately, but over time they did. And they died in their relationship to God. The world became fallen and polluted with sin. And every person thereafter, Martin Luther wrote, The Bondage of the Will, every person thereafter was bound to sin. And sin multiplied in the world brings death and destruction. There were no violent storms killing people in paradise, but here there are. Why? Because we learned theologically that man's sin pollutes everything. It pollutes the weather. It pollutes the planet. It pollutes the soil. It pollutes our bodies. It gives us disease. It gives us cancers. It gives us sickness. It gives us illness. It gives us anger. It gives us separation from others. It gives us pride. It gives us vanity. It gives us all of our sins. We live in a fallen world. And our hope comes from a God who wants a relationship with us so deeply, so strongly, that he was willing to come into the world, born as a child, condescended, Scripture says, condescended to mankind, became like man. He didn't have to do it, but he did because he wants a relationship with us. And he didn't take a cheat code out. He lived a perfect, flawless, blameless life, and still they beat him to within an inch of his life, put a crown of thorns on his head, physically nailed him to a cross, and hung him up so that the weight of his body pulled down onto the nails holding his feet in place would cause him ultimately to suffocate on the cross. And he suffocated there, upright, nailed to a cross, unable to lift himself up to catch a breath, asphyxiated, and died, having never sinned, never committed a crime, never lied. The perfect man was perfectly murdered. And 3 days later, he came back to life, conquering death. We don't get a shortcut from this world because he didn't take a shortcut from the world. We don't get to get out of the pain and the suffering of the world, and he didn't either. I don't know why. I don't have that question. I'm not in a cult. I believe this is true. Cults have the answers to everything. I don't know why God just doesn't snap his finger and say, you know what, enough. Let's end the world of all the sadness. No, but we got to suffer through. And in suffering through, we use ourselves, our illness, our tragedies as ministries to others to get through their tough times. My wife has used her cancer, the mastectomy she had, and all that to minister to other women. In our suffering, we find connections to others that give them comfort. And we find ways to get close to God, and we feel his presence in life. And then one day we get to be with him on a day not of our choosing. None of those kids went to that camp thinking they were going to die and go see Jesus, but they did. It seems cruel to people who don't understand, who don't believe. And to the internet trolls, it gives them reason to gloat. But the reality is, we live in a depraved and fallen world, and that's because of us, not because of him. And one day, he'll come again. There will be a new heaven and a new earth. This one consumed in fire this time, not water. All things will be made new. All tears will be dried. All illness will be healed. And all the suffering and sadness will turn to joy. Scripture says joy cometh in the morning. There's no joy for the people in Kerr County, Texas today. There is death. There is destruction. There is carnage and ruin. There are tears. There are no children where once there were children. There are no roads where once there were roads. There are no homes where once there were homes. Why would a loving God do that? Loving God did not do that. A loving God, though, greeted those children when they came home to him. We oftentimes think this world is permanent. It's temporary. We all are passing through it. Those children passed through sooner than any of us would want them to. But now they are home. And we can mourn their loss in this world, but take comfort their reunion in the next. And understand God did not do these things. We live in a fallen world with disease and death, but he loves us so much he walked through the world with us and redeemed the world so that one day all our tears are going to be dried and all our families are going to be reunited. And for those who don't believe, one day you will believe, and then it'll be too late. And so now you can mock and scoff. You can ask the questions for which you don't even want the answer. And you can belittle, bemoan, and you can cast blame and take partisan points. But those of us who know, Joy cometh in the morning.
Those who love him, listen to find out what he's going to say next. Those who disagree with him, also listen to see what he's going to say next. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
120 Coolray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center. Just held all lanes. Got a crash off to the right Midtown, 7585 northbound at 10th Street, exit 250. Elsewhere in Norcross, the crash pushed to the right shoulder. All lanes open, 85 northbound before Indian Trail Road, exit 101. Still slow from 285. And they're clearing up that stall, 285 northbound, the outer loop into cab at I-20. But looks like new trouble, 285 north, the inner loop over on the west side. Highway 166, Langford Parkway, exit 5. We'll check on that. Traffic brought to you by Active Pest Control. Enjoy a pest-free home with Active Pest Control's pest-free 365 service. To save $50 off your initial pest service, visit ActivePestControl.com today. I'm Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
The U.S. is investing up to $1 billion to fight the spread of bird flu.
At the top and bottom of every hour.
Traffic congestion around Metro Atlanta continues to cost commuters.
And when it breaks.
The suspect is in critical condition after being struck multiple times.
Check back 3, 4, 5 times a day for the latest.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's breaking news station.
Has your pest control company told you they won't be coming inside anymore and they raised their prices? Mark Aram here for my bug and critter company, Breda Pest Management. They protect the outside and inside of your home. It's the bugs inside you want gone. So if your pest company is doing less and charging more, you need Breda. Get started at BREDAPest.com.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Hi, it's Sue from Breadbeckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. Over the past 30 years, we've seen countless lives change for the better and health issues greatly improved, if not completely resolved, by customers changing their diets, starting with real bread. At the Breadbecker store in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real, delicious bread loaded with fiber and nutrients from real whole grains. A healthy, affordable solution for your family that can change your lives. For various customers, we've seen cholesterol levels drop 85 to 100 points in just 1 month, blood sugar stabilized, anemia corrected, and hundreds of stories of warts going away. In one case, as many as 500 warts gone in just 2.5 weeks. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've studied the incredible health benefits of whole grains and real bread. Let us help you take the first steps to better health. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Breadbeckers store in Woodstock.
Oh, there it goes again. I think old Rusty's had her last ride.
Aw, I think you're right. It's time to let her go. But what if she could still do some good?
What do you mean?
Well, we can donate it to the Tommy Nobis Center.
Really?
They take old cars, running or not, and use the proceeds to help people with disabilities find jobs.
So instead of Rusty just sitting in the driveway, she could help someone who needs a job?
Exactly. And donating is easy. They pick it up for free.
That's a great idea.
Donate your vehicle to Tommy Nobis Center and help people with disabilities gain meaningful employment. Visit TommyNobisCenter.org to donate.
This is Scott Slade. Nothing takes the place of time when it comes to spotting problems with your health, especially trouble with your heart. The earlier, the better. That's where virtual imaging comes in. Virtual imaging's heart scan can be invaluable, giving you more time for you and your loved ones to take charge of your health. They can detect calcium levels in your arteries early with the best CT imaging in the Southeast and with 98% accuracy. To encourage you to take action now, for a limited time, Virtual Imaging is offering their heart scan for only $49. It's a $495 value, but appointments for this offer will fill up fast, so don't wait. To schedule your Virtual Imaging $49 heart scan, call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com. Some minimum requirements may apply. Early detection is your best protection. I know, it saves lives. Don't put it off. Take advantage of this great offer from Virtual Imaging.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
A few years ago, my youngest son had something minor turned into something very major in a matter of hours.
It was Medi-Share that came through for us, and there was no hassles, there was no problem.
That's what's so wonderful about knowing that you're a part of such an incredible ministry.
Medi-Share is a biblical approach to healthcare where Christians share each other's medical expenses.
Medi-Share is a family, a group of people that stick with you through the hardest times of your life.
Medi-Share isn't insurance. It's a nonprofit ministry over 30 years old and members have shared over $8 billion of each other's medical bills.
We don't have to spend so much on health insurance. You can focus that on supporting other people.
Medishare is affordable.
Medishare is biblical.
Medishare is family. Join thousands of Christians who can help you save on your health care and support your family when you need it. Call 855-51-BIBLE, 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. Get Eric's daily show prep email. Text DATA to 33777 and you'll be in the know.
Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. Glad to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425. I gotta just tell you, one of the things that enrages me is the level and complicity of the American press corps funneling blame so quickly to the Trump administration and cuts to the National Weather Service. Did you know, and you may be forgiven for not knowing this given the press coverage, but did you know no cuts have been made to the National Weather Service? Cuts are planned for next year, but they haven't been made yet. And yes, there was one person in the Weather Bureau for the National Weather Service in Texas who took early retirement, whose job was to coordinate communications, but there were 5 people on a night they would have had 2, including 2 people who were trained in that person's job. The problem was not the National Weather Service. The problem was that much of Kerr County didn't have cell phone service. Where most of the people got killed were areas without cell phone service, so they never got the alerts that went out. Your phone, I mentioned this yesterday, our phone, when a tornado came over the house a couple of months ago, woke us up, scared the mess out of me in the middle of the night. I turn off the Amber Alerts. Like, I don't need to know about the missing kids. I'm sorry if that offends you, but I know where my kids are. I can see they're spending my money. Sometimes I wish they might go missing without my credit card, but they're safe and sound. But I God bless you if you've lost a kid. I feel for you, but I don't need the alert on my phone. But the weather alerts, they're useful. They come on your phone and they scare the crap out of you in the middle of the night when you're sound asleep. You're there, bah, 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 whatever. I'm not allowed to play the sound on air, Ken. If you're listening, I'm not doing it. But you know the sound, and it wakes you up in the middle of the night. And people in that area, they couldn't get the sound because their phone couldn't get the signal, and so they slept. And it was awful what happened. But that's not on the Weather Service. It's not on the Weather Service. Also, as an aside, it's why you should consider having a weather radio, because even in areas where cell phone signals don't go, radio waves do, and you can pick those things up, and you should be cautious. Now, I got to move on because I got to talk to you about Eden Pure and its thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them for less than $200. You save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3, right there on the website at EdenPureDeals.com, and you save $200. These things are air purifiers, so they trap the dust, the pollen, the particulate that's in the air. They kill 99.9% of bacteria and viruses, but they also generate ozone, goes into the air, and wipes out odors. So the odors don't have to be sucked into the machine. The ozone goes out and finds them. Wipes out the odors. That's how I use it. As a matter of fact, I got the kitchen smoky last night roasting a chicken, burned some of it, and had to use the Eden Pure Thunderstorm and wiped out the smoke odors. It just works. Get 3 of them, save $200. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3.
Is your summer vacation going to be a week at the beach or a week in the backyard standing in the kiddie pool?
If you listen to 95.5 WSB, that week at the beach could be yours. It's $1,000 Thursdays on WSB.
Your chance to win $1,000 every hour between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Thursdays.
Listen for the keyword. Enter the keyword at WSBRadio.com or on the WSB app within that hour.
Get all the info at WSBRadio.com.
$1,000 Thursdays this Thursday.
From 95.5 WSB.
Where Atlanta wins.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's news and talk.
It is 1:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news sponsored by Ben Hill Renovation. With today's dangerous heat, there is this. Cobb County Police releasing new video of two kids being rescued from a hot car in Cobb County last month.
It's okay, baby. It's okay. Oh, you're hot.
The temperature in that car estimated to be 117 degrees. Two Good Samaritans had called 911 to report those children alone and locked in the hot car at Cumberland Mall. The father of the kids charged with second-degree cruelty to children. Our weather for today, how hot's it going to get? Afternoon highs around 96, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. She'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. The Trump administration and Congress holding a news conference earlier today about new attempts to cut down on foreign ownership of agriculture businesses and land, particularly targeting China and the Chinese Communist Party. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
As someone who's charged with leading the Defense Department, I want to know who owns the land around our bases and strategic bases, and getting an understanding of why foreign entities, foreign companies, foreign individuals might be buying up land around those bases.
And the administration has a map showing land owned by Chinese nationals close to a couple dozen major military installations. And DeKalb County commissioners voting on a measure that sends property taxes lower for most residents. TJ Sigler is the director of DeKalb's Office of Management and Budget.
For the majority of homeowners, if you have a homestead exemption, you should see a decrease in your net property taxes due to the county.
Now, on a home valued at $450,000, taxes should decrease from $1,800 to about $1,500 this year. As the summer travel season heats up, Alpharetta-based Colonial Pipeline boosting its capacity along the East Coast. That means more gasoline for drivers in Georgia and other southeastern states. Bloomberg reporting Colonial's Line 1, which primarily transport gas, is boosting its capacity 5 to 7% above typical summer volumes. That's helping push gas prices down. It's 1:32.
It's July, and that means pool days, summer celebrations, and of course, heat. Georgia heat is brutal. Don't let your home be a sauna. Coolray has the perfect solution to keep you cool this summer. Coolray is offering you $2,250 in rebates and free attic insulation when you purchase your new complete carrier system. You know, proper insulation is like a sidekick for your HVAC, keeping cool air in and hot air out. Call or go online to Coolray.com to book your appointment today. Coolray and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
Hi, this is Candace from Exovations, and have I got a tip for you. Don't just take my word for it. For over 20 years, you've heard me on the radio sharing remodeling advice. But if you really want to know what sets Exovations apart, go read our reviews. You'll see words like amazing work, incredible experience from start to finish, and again, stress-free. But don't just listen to me. Listen to our reviews. Google Exovations or visit EXOVATIONS.com.
Men, are you having problems performing in the bedroom? Do pills like Viagra and Cialis leave you feeling frustrated? Well, now there's new hope for men who suffer from ED and PE problems. Meet Dr. Katz, a specialist in men's health.
Hey guys, I'm Dr. Katz with Choice Men's Health. Regardless of your age or medical condition, Choice Men's Health can safely restore your sexual potency. Our customized solutions can eliminate your problem in just one visit. There's no pain, no surgery, and it's affordable.
Guys, don't let the anxiety over your performance get you down. We can get you back in the game. Call Choice Men's Health today to find out how you can eliminate ED on the very first visit. Call 404-400-1170. That's 404-400-1170. That's 404-400-1170.
This is Jonathan Geller at D. Geller & Son Jewelers, and I'm so excited to invite you to our designer pop-up event July 19th and 20th. Come see extended lines of engagement rings, wedding bands, plus brand new wedding day and fashion jewelry from the top designers in the industry, like Veragio's handcrafted blend of the trends and looks of today with the timeless vintage beauty of the past. So don't just look for a ring, find the perfect ring at D. Geller & Son's designer pop-up event July 19th and 20th in Kennesaw and Sandy Springs. RSVP online at dgeller.com.
Alex Williams, quickly, how are we doing on the roads?
Travel advisory crash, 2 right lanes, 285 east, the inner loop at Chambly-Dunwoody Road, exit 30. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly cloudy, hot and humid today, high 96. An isolated pop-up shower possible later this afternoon.
More news at 2 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens, 95.5 WSB.
Greetings, conversationalists. It is Eric Erickson across the nation. My time now to make a lot of you mad. Unintentionally so. Let me do a thought experiment with you. Let's say archaeologists around the city of Jerusalem, they find a tomb. And in that tomb is a body of a man that's about 2,000 years old and clearly has wound marks on the bones that showed there were nails in his wrists, in his feet, shows traumatic head injury. There's a crown of thorns on the skull still, or what's left of him. And there's a note, here lies Jesus of Nazareth, some claim to be the Son of God. What would you do with that information? What would you do? Some people would say, well, that's not true. That's impossible. That can't be. Some people would say, I guess it wasn't real. How you handle that information will rock people's worldview. How you handle it, how you process it, that does kind of matter. You get invested in the theology, the apologetics, and now it's looking like, was it all a bunch of hooey? Now, here's the thing. Let's just say, like, it becomes wide consensus among everyone. This is actually his body. Turns out he never rose again. Well, there instantly would go the largest religion on planet Earth. There instantly it would go. By faith, some would continue to believe. Now, I use that example because, if you ever actually did find the body of Jesus, the Christian faith is gone. Because the Christian faith is premised on there's no body to find because he's in heaven. He's in a fold-in space, fully body, fully spirit, and will come back. And you find a dead body, well, the resurrection was a lie. And you can't have Christianity without the resurrection. It is inherent in the theology that there's a resurrection. And you believe by faith that it happened. You weren't there to witness it, you believe by faith. Told you I'm going to make some of you mad, and I'm going to offend some of you for doing the comparison, but I used that to transition into Jeffrey Epstein. Because as this has unfolded that what Pam Bondi said was there is not there, there are increasing numbers of people who have decided to embrace the idea of government cover-up instead of government incompetence, that it goes all the way to the top. Maybe it does involve Donald Trump. And I keep seeing people on social media and email correspondence making claims that have, best I can tell, been derived from whole cloth from people on the internet. Like thousands and thousands of men used Jeffrey Epstein for services with young women. That's nowhere in the record anywhere, even among the investigative journalists who have looked to it. I can't find that claim anywhere, and I'm getting it from people. We know from the investigative journalists that there were 80 victims. We know that Jeffrey Epstein made most of his money on Wall Street. He worked for Bear Stearns. And then he started developing his own clientele of billionaires who paid Jeffrey Epstein. And we speculate from there that many of those billionaires were paying Jeffrey Epstein. He was managing their money, but also Jeffrey Epstein was in some cases probably supplying them with young women for sex, and he was blackmailing them. We have no documentary evidence of Jeffrey Epstein's blackmail. We don't. It doesn't exist. The lawyers for some of the victims have said they don't actually believe it. And this is what's interesting here, because we have a lot of people, a lot of you, because you've emailed me angrily over my dismissiveness of a bunch of it, to insist there is a massive government cover-up, that there certainly is a cabal of sex traffickers around the world who will go unexposed, and that Jeffrey Epstein's, all the evidence about his blackmail, the Epstein list, the flight manifest, all that stuff was gone. And it's just you don't have to believe me on this. The lawyers for several of the victims have come forward. They've been interviewed by investigative journalists, and they've said they don't believe many of the claims based on what the victims themselves have said to their lawyers, who they're allowed to talk to candidly. that a lot of the claims that have been blown up on the internet by people on the internet who have built their reputations on unmasking the conspiracy were never real to begin with. But you've heard them so many times. These things that people made up online have now become your truth. Not the truth, but your truth. You believe them. There are true things we know that are bad. Certainly, there were very wealthy men who used their connections to Jeffrey Epstein to have sex with trafficked young women. But we also know that there are a number of men who had connections to Jeffrey Epstein who did not know about Epstein's proclivities, and Epstein used those powerful and rich men to build his credibility with other wealth investors. So it's a multifaceted thing that Jeffrey Epstein did. Some of the men are now tied to him in ill repute, though they are perfectly innocent, and Epstein managed their money. Others used Epstein for access to girls and human trafficking victims, and Epstein in some cases managed their money. But it wasn't thousands and thousands of men, and it wasn't thousands and thousands of girls. It was 80 victims, we know. It was a couple of dozen men, we know. It was not some global cabal. And I need you to understand, and you're not going to want to hear this from me, a lot of the people who made their reputations online that you followed online to give you the inside scoop, because if you're really honest about it, you're a rubbernecker to tragedy. You're interested in it because you're interested in a car crash on the side of the road and you slow down and gawk at it. That's why you're interested here. You can make high claims that it's actually about justice. It's actually about the victims. It's actually about right and wrong, but really you're interested in the salaciousness of it. You want the perp walk and the names because you want to see the famous people. You're curious about it. Curiosity kills the cat. Satisfaction's not going to bring it back in this case because you're not going to get the answers, and you never were, because many of the things you learned from many of the people you believed and trusted in, they lied to you the whole time, and you'd rather be mad at me for telling you you were lied to and deluded. You were lied to by these people who even now are online insisting there is a grand global conspiracy. There is a deep cabal of sinister, wealthy people engaged in human sex trafficking around the world because the people on the internet told you so. All I can do is tell you the truth. My account's not monetized to lie to you and rope you in. Were there powerful men who are going to get away with it? Absolutely. We know of the 80 victims, a great many of them signed non-disclosure agreements after being paid a lot of money from the men who abused them. And they're going to get away with it. You're not going to get the justice you claim you want. You're not going to get the perp walk you actually want. You're not. As for Pam Bondi, there never was a list. Now, what's so interesting is some people say, well, there wasn't actually a list. It was supposed to be the investigation. And from the investigation, we should have gotten a list of names. There are other people who say, no, there really was a list. Jeffrey Epstein kept a list to blackmail people. No, there never was a list. Not a single lawyer for a single victim believes there was ever a list. Not interestingly enough, not a single lawyer of a single victim believes Jeffrey Epstein regularly engaged in blackmail. That's something the internet came up with as a speculative motive for what he did, as opposed to Jeffrey Epstein liked helping dirty old men find access to young women. It is absolutely true that there is a minute missing to the security video footage of Jeffrey Epstein's cell. Given the prison that he was in and the unreliability of its network and security there, you can chalk it up to conspiracy, or you could chalk it up to incompetence, or you can chalk it up to error. But I think a lot of you would prefer to believe that there's a conspiracy because you would never sleep again if you knew how incompetent the government was. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what this is about. The government botched the investigation. Many of the young women are not Americans. They lived abroad. The government didn't bother going to interview them. Many of them were paid money and disappeared so they wouldn't have to participate. Some of them have worked hard to get over the trauma, and many of the gawkers and rubberneckers want them to have to relive the trauma for their own entertainment. You're not going to get the satisfaction you want. You're not going to get the answers you want. Life is complicated and messy. I can tell you from my vantage point, I've never believed that there was a grand global conspiracy. It's interesting to me that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, before they got to the Trump administration, insisted on this conspiracy, insisted Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, and insisted there was a bunch there. And then they got into the White House and started looking into it, and guess what? They changed their minds. And some of you, because you've been told by people online and have been programmed and induced to believe it over time, will believe that now they're in the conspiracy and they're protecting people and its intelligence agencies and the like, as opposed to there's just no there. Pam Bondi came in and said there were going to be thousands and thousands of documents, and they were in New York City. And at the time, if you will recall, Kash Patel came out and said, no, there aren't. The documents Pam Bondi said were there were never there. In some cases, there are documents that will be released at a later date after Ghislaine Maxwell's case is resolved. Some of that stuff can't come out. Some of it is for the protection of the victims. It's more about protecting the victims than about your need to be entertained. I can see on my computer right now hate mail from a couple of people who are mad that I'm accusing them of wanting to be entertained as opposed to they want justice for the victims. If the victims want justice as opposed to money, the victims can come forward. It's about them. It's never been about you. It's never been about you. Some people have made it about themselves, their quest for knowledge. There's a lot of Gnosticism in the world these days. You know what Gnosticism is? Gnosticism is you follow certain people, they're going to give you the secret knowledge. There's a lot of that online, and a lot of these people made a lot of money off the Jeffrey Epstein rumors, the lies, the salaciousness, the twisting facts to make the story more sinister than it already was. They fooled a lot of people, and now they've got to double down that Donald Trump must be in on the conspiracy somehow. As opposed to the government botched the case from the beginning. It was always incompetently handled. It was always incompetently managed. People in government cannot keep secrets. Donald Trump tried to stop giving weapons to Ukraine, and it was leaked within 24 hours. People cannot keep secrets in government. You think they can, and yet they never seem to be able to keep secrets. But somehow they're keeping this secret. Somehow the lawyers, secretaries who talk to the victims are keeping secrets. The secretaries, assistants, and the law clerks are keeping secrets. All the victims have kept secret. Everybody's kept secret. The secretaries of the men who were involved, they are keeping a secret. All the government agents are keeping a secret. Sure are a lot of people who can't keep secrets able to keep secrets in this case, as opposed to a lot of what you thought you knew, you never actually knew because it wasn't actually true. As for the president, a short time ago at the White House, asked about this is his response.
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday with Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for an American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the news?
Yeah, sure. If
could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
He's not wrong. And why are we still talking about it? Because people made a lot of money off of telling you a lot of things that were twisted, that you've now believed because you've heard them so much. At the end of the day, there was a monster who provided girls to other monsters. And those monsters will one day burn in hell. And that's where you will get your justice, because you will not find out the names. There will be no perp walk. They were not protected so much as the government itself they knew was incompetent. There was not as many monsters as you think it was, nor as many victims as you think there were. But there were monsters and there were victims, and those victims got paid money to be quiet, and those victims have been taken care of. The justice that you want in many cases is a justice for your own entertainment purposes, to see the perp walk or your own curiosity. And at the end of the day, that itch is not going to be scratched. But these men, your comfort will be that one day they answer to an almighty God, and they're going to burn in hell. That's why the doctrine of hell gives me comfort. People will always escape justice in this life, particularly people of means, but they won't escape justice in the next. And the people with the means to escape justice now are the ones who think they can buy their way out of their future eternity, and they can't. And they will be sorely mistaken. That's then when you will get the satisfaction, but you'll never see it. You'll never know it. You'll just understand it happens. As for now, many of the things you were promised, including by Pam Bondi, they just simply didn't exist. It wasn't a conspiracy. It was a lie by the people who profited off telling you there was a conspiracy. Again, so many of the lawyers for the victims have been interviewed, and they've disputed all along a lot of the stuff people think existed. Now, I got to tell you about Hillsdale College. They've got some great classes you can take. If you go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up with Hillsdale College, you take one of their classes, and then you take another one, and then you take another one. You just keep getting smarter about subjects you're interested in, from politics to history to philosophy to mathematics to chemistry to economics. They're all there. You do them at your own pace. Every class, it depends on the class how many hours of presentation there are, but each presentation is divided into 30-minute episodes. You watch them at your own pace. At the end, you get a certificate of completion. You go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. Sign up with Hillsdale College. Start a relationship with them. Learn about the institution, what makes them unique. You'll understand pretty quickly why it's harder to get into Hillsdale these days than Harvard. It's ericforhillsdale.com. They'd love to have you. They would love to offer you these courses. Surely there's something you're interested in, you want to get smarter about. ericforhillsdale.com.
When the truth seems hazy, Eric will clear the way. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
152 Coolray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center needs your attention on the south side perimeter to DeKalb County. Very heavy police activity has I-285 westbound, the inner loop completely shut down right at I-675, exit 52. No traffic is getting through. Over 24 police officers on scene here. They also have 2 left lanes blocked on 285 eastbound, the outer loop. So again, I-20 is going to be your best way around that. Looks like they've also been holding traffic 285 southbound, the inner loop back at I-20 as part of this. So again, continue to use I-20 or the downtown connector to avoid this big jam. Traffic brought to you by Whole Foods Market. Get versatile entrees at Whole Foods Market. Save 20% on no antibiotics ever, air-chilled, boneless, skinless chicken breast with Prime through July 8th while supplies last. Shop in-store or online. Terms apply. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
The news of the day through the eyes of Eric Von Hessler.
I've listened to many arguments, and there are good arguments to say that we shouldn't. I'm just saying.
If it's on your mind, it's on his.
This is the only way to do it. Some people are going to lose their job, and then they're going to be put back in the job.
Eric Von Hessler, today at 3.
It's about you. You're being celebrated.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
If you've ever organized your closet only to have it look like a bomb went off in there 1 month later, then it's time to call Artisan Custom Closets. Dave Baker here with a custom spacious closet from Artisan. You'll never have to deal with all that clutter again. ArtisanCustomClosets.com.
Men, trouble in the bedroom? Not anymore. Priority Men's Medical Center restores your love life in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Priority Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Priority Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 404-885-8885. 404-885-8885. To restore your love life in just one visit, call now. 404-885-8885.
Selling and buying a home doesn't have to be a juggling act. With Orchard, you get cash up front to buy your next place, then more cash when your old home sells. Start with a free home valuation at Orchard.com. That's Orchard.com.
I'm consumer investigator Dale Cardwell, and for over a decade, I've trusted America's best choice for windows, doors, siding, and decks.
That's right, Dale. When the summer is hot, America's best choice will keep your home cool with premium energy-efficient windows starting at just $299. No pressure, no gimmicks. Go to abcwind.com to schedule a free in-home estimate today. America's best choice. Quality you can trust, prices you can afford.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
What is All Care? All Care is expert urgent care and primary care under a single roof, offering convenience and continuity for your healthcare needs. All Care is a team of physicians and clinicians who know you and your medical history, so they can provide the personalized care you deserve. And with both family and immediate care services offered 7 days a week, All Care means seeing your doctor on your schedule. 15 convenient locations, same-day appointments, and walk-ins welcome. Remember, urgent care plus primary care equals All Care. Learn more at allcare-ga.com.
Hey, this is Robbie with Ben Hill Renovations, the preferred deck experts heard on the Home Fix-It Show. We're well known for our superior craftsmanship for decks and outdoor living spaces. And at Ben Hill Renovations, we provide that same attention to detail when it comes to roofing, siding, windows, and doors. So get your project started today and call to schedule a free estimate. Or you can stop by our showroom in Douglasville. Online at bhrenovations.com. Ben Hill Renovations, creating raving fans since 1964.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. Let's hop over the phones. Greg's been waiting patiently. Greg, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Nice to talk to you. So the birthright citizenship 14th Amendment clause that says something along the lines of under the jurisdiction of the U.S. I was talking with my son and son-in-law, and Indians or Native Americans that give birth on the reservation, which is not U.S. territory, are automatically U.S. citizens. That might be a special case. But I understand, my son-in-law found on the internet that a case about 30 years later after the amendment was ratified with a Chinese family that gave birth. Yeah. So, is there a case for ending birthright citizens as we know it, or is there precedent?
That's a great question. Now, there are people who will nuance Wonkimark and say that because the parents were allowed into the United States when the kid was born, that was the exception, and illegal aliens are here against the law. I think that's going to be rejected even by Clarence Thomas because we've interpreted the law for so long one way that we're just not going to see the Supreme Court be willing to change it. Even Clarence Thomas was very skeptical of the arguments against birthright citizenship when they heard that case. They didn't rule on it. It's going to come back to the court. But I just think we've gone this way for so long, the Supreme Court will abhor changing the law.
Get the WSB radio app.
This story is breaking right now.
Get notifications from your source for news.
If you have the WSB radio app, then you saw the breaking news.
Get the WSB radio app.
Don't miss a thing with the WSB app.
Download it from the App Store today.
Exciting news for homeowners out there. This is Deborah Morton, host of Inside Georgia Real Estate here on WSB every Saturday at 1 p.m. My team and I are now proud partners with the iconic real estate brand, The Agency. As we launch the Atlanta market, we now have multiple offices covering Metro Atlanta. What this means for you as a home buyer or seller is that you will now have access to the agency's global resources. In this changing market, it is essential to hire the most experienced agency to represent you. And if you're a seller, you'll get the agency's proprietary marketing, which brings you more buyers, more offers, and ultimately sell your home for more money. My team and I are here for you as your real estate experts. In the meantime, we have all your answers about real estate every Saturday at 1 p.m. right here on WSB. And you can always reach out to me at InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com. That's InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com, now partners with the Agency Atlanta.
News, weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock. I'm Veronica Waters. The news brought to you by Bread Beckers this hour, and we are joining you with some breaking news. Heavy police activity in DeKalb County has some folks at a standstill on I-285 at 675, where a chase reportedly ended minutes ago. WSB's Alex Williams joins us live to detail what's happening right now.
Yeah, Veronica, it started out. I got several calls in here to the traffic center about a lot of DeKalb police traveling 285 southbound through DeKalb County right around I-20. Started scamming the Jan Cam, found where this came to an end. All lanes of 285 westbound, the inner loop, right at I-675, exit 52, were completely shut down with over 24 police vehicles on scene with this. I saw guns drawn. They had their shields out approaching a vehicle. So very heavy police activity. They're also blocking several left lanes of the 285 eastbound outer loop there at I-675. So again, Veronica, all lanes, traffic red alert. This is all lanes shut down. 285 westbound, the inner loop in DeKalb County, south side perimeter, right at I-675 with this heavy police activity. Best bet is to use I-20 to head into or out of downtown as your alternates. Veronica?
Thank you, Alex, and be sure to join us for an update on the rest of your afternoon drive. It's 2:01, 93 degrees in Midtown Atlanta. WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards forecasting partly cloudy skies and isolated pop-up storms possible today. A relentless search for the missing is in its 5th day after catastrophic flooding in central Texas. Kerrville Mayor Joe Herring.
Please pray for those who mourn, for those who wait, and for those who help.
Teams from across the U.S. are flocking to Texas to assist the search and rescue. The death toll is at least 109 now. Temperatures had soared to 117 degrees inside a car at Cumberland Mall. The DeKalb County Police rescued 2 crying kids buckled into the back seat.
It's okay, baby. It's okay. Oh, you're hot.
Body cam video revealing the rescue as police break the front window to unlock the back door. 2 Good Samaritans had called 911, and the father of the kids is charged with second-degree cruelty to children. He had left them in the car for 41 minutes with the windows cracked. Reports say the TSA is testing updated technology which could allow you to keep your shoes on before boarding a plane. Security officers are doing a soft launch at some airports. You know, that rule has been in place more than 20 years since attempted shoe bomber Richard Reed tried to set off some homemade explosives on an American Airlines flight. It's 2:02. Live team coverage of traffic and weather next.
Joel, it's Eric. I know some of you are concerned about tariff prices impacting things in your lives, including kitchen remodels. Well, listen to this. You can book an appointment this month with Frugal Kitchens and get the Frugal Price Lock. They will lock you into pre-tariff prices. All you got to do is Google Frugal Kitchens for details, and they're offering 0% financing. You want your kitchen remodeled. You want to add value to your home. You're worried about tariffs. Here's your opportunity. Google Frugal Kitchens. Start that kitchen redesign today.
At Jape Services, family isn't just a slogan. It's how we do business.
Our family has been helping homeowners with their heating and cooling since 1978.
And now, we're riding along just like our dad did when he was 14.
And today, we're here to help your family stay cool and comfortable. If your AC is struggling, call Jape Services for honest pricing, expert heating and cooling repair, or replacement.
Decades of experience, family-run values, service you can trust.
Let our family take care of your family.
Jape Services.
It's your money. Get it sooner. All you need is direct deposit with a checking or savings account at Coosa Valley Credit Union. This is Andy Harris, president of Coosa Valley Credit Union. Not only can you get your money sooner, but we believe in kinder banking where you deal with real people in person. So come see us.
The Scott Antique Markets is back at the Atlanta Expo Center, featuring hundreds of vendors with collectibles and merchandise from all over the world. We're on both sides of I-285, exit 55 on Jonesboro Road. Visit ScottAntiqueMarket.com for more information.
This is Scott Slade, and nothing takes the place of time when it comes to spotting problems with your health, especially cancer. The earlier the better. That's where virtual imaging comes in. Virtual Imaging's LDCT body scan can be invaluable, giving you more time for you and your loved ones to take charge of your health. They can detect tumors as early as precancerous virtually anywhere in your body, and aneurysms you may not even know are there. Due to overwhelming demand for a limited time, their $995 core body scan offer has been extended. It's a $2,495 value. Early detection saves lives, and now it's more affordable than ever. Virtual Imaging has gotten such great response to this offer that they've opened up more times in both offices, but appointments will fill up fast, so don't wait. Some minimum requirements may apply. Early detection is your best protection. To schedule your virtual imaging $995 core body scan, call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com.
It's 2:05 now. Live team coverage of traffic and weather coming back your way. Alex Williams live in the WSB 24-hour traffic center.
Traffic red alert continues south side perimeter in DeKalb County. Heavy police activity 285 westbound, the inner loop right at I-675 exit 52. All lanes have been shut down. Now what they have been doing is letting the right lane by, but they're forcing that traffic on 285 west onto I-675 south. So if you don't want to get in that, hop off at Boulder Crest Road or even avoid it altogether before that at I-20 and take I-20 westbound toward downtown or even Moreland Avenue as an alternate there. They've also been in the left lane of 285 eastbound, the outer loop right there at I-675, so really jammed up in both directions. Elsewhere, crash still in a left lane on the west side inner loop, 285 northbound, Highway 166 Langford Parkway exit 5. That's slowing the ride back to Camp Creek Parkway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly cloudy, hot and humid today, high 96. An isolated pop-up shower possible later this afternoon.
More news at 2:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Veronica Waters, 95.5 WSB.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. I got to tell you that the Epstein thing is a Rorschach blot. We got phone callers calling who are conservatives, convinced that they're covered for the libs on the list, and the libs are calling, convinced Donald Trump is on the list. People are never going to get the satisfaction they want from this. There are so many things in life that we encounter that you never get satisfaction from, and you never get satisfaction from it because we all want things to be neat and tidy, and life can sometimes be messy, and this is one of the examples of life just being messy, where there's a lot of people screwing things up. But I continue to believe it is a long time view of mine that people sleep better at night thinking that there's a grand cabal of people in charge, even if they're evil, then that there's just rank incompetence everywhere you look, because actually it's incompetence. We got to move on to other stuff now. By the way, I want to encourage you, a lot of new listeners now, if you text Eric, my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, if you text my name, Eric, to 33777, we will send you back a long list of ways you can follow the show, starting with my morning email is the very top link. Then you get links to the podcast, links to the 4 Things to Know This Afternoon podcast that we do after the show that you should all subscribe to, because there's a lot of stuff that happens in the show, and it happens at the end of the show. And so after the show is over, I do a less than 7-minute podcast of these 4 things happened. You need to know them by the time you get home. You should subscribe to it. Then there are all the social media links, the YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. All you have to do is text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. The world is sometimes more complex than people think it is. You know, it's kind of weird. There's a dichotomy that oftentimes we think of things being very complex that are simple, and the way our brains work, we can't fathom that it's so simple. It must be complex. But more often than not, the default is that we try to simplify complex things. We give special value to people on the planet who can take a complex topic and simplify it. And we do that intellectually as well. We want to simplify things. We want the world to be more simple than it is. There are a group of people in the Trump administration who have tried to simplify the world into an us versus them dynamic that doesn't actually hold water when you look at it. And they've transitioned and translated the way the world works into a scheme for isolationism. It's historic in this country, particularly in the upper Midwest, a real desire for isolation. J.D. Vance has been the leader of the isolationist movement at the White House. And it's not going well for him. Not going well for the isolationists. We bombed Iran, and now Bibi Netanyahu, the president, said just a short time ago, is coming back to the White House tonight to talk about a Gaza peace deal, and also a word from the White House is that they are planning further bombings of Iran if need be. There's no immediate plan to bomb, but they're willing to explore options. But also, the president says Ukraine has got to have weapons. Charlie got it out of here, but just be careful. The president said a potty word at his press conference.
But that was a war that should have never happened, and a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of thrown at us by Putin for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Do you want to sanction him? Lindsey Graham has a sanctions bill on Russia. Do you want him to move?
I'm looking at it. Yeah, no, I'm looking. The Senate is passed a very, very tough sanctions bill. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Can you sign that?
It's an optional bill. It's totally at my option. They passed it totally at my option, and to terminate totally at my option. And I'm looking at it very strongly.
Yesterday you said you want to sanction.
So I sent it to Charlie and said, can you cut out the word BS from this? And then I loaded it so that I could play it for you guys. I was like, did I load the right file? Did I load the unedited one or the edited one? Thankfully, got the edited one. Got Kobe on the bleep button just to be on the safe side. We did it well. The president, we've got a lot of BS for Vladimir Putin. Turns out he didn't mean the stuff he said. The president is going to re-engage with Ukraine and send them more weapons. Now, this comes, and I suspect this was the galvanizing moment for the president. The BRICS. Now, people talk about the BRICS. It took me a very long time. It used to be BRIC, then it became BRICS. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These are large economies. Years ago, without Russia in the mix, Brazil, it was the BRICS, Brazil, India, China, South Africa. It was the non-aligned nations. The non-aligned nations were nations that they wanted to work with the Soviet Union and they wanted to work with the United States. They weren't going to pick a dog in the fight, so to speak. They couldn't care less about the Cold War. They wanted what was good for them. Sometimes it was from the Soviets. Sometimes it was from the United States. They were going to pick and choose. Well, here's the thing. The BRICS are now controlled by Russia and China, and South Africa is increasingly hostile to the West and very pro-China and Russia. India is trying to thread the needle on all sides. India is not a fan of China, but has a trade relationship with Russia. India very much likes Donald Trump, but doesn't necessarily like the United States. The world is changing. And the BRICS have decided to exert their economic clout. And the way they're exerting their economic clout, just so you understand, is they're trying to upend the American economy. You see, what the BRICS want to do is they want to get rid of the United States as the world reserve currency, and they actually do want to move the world to gold if they can do it. That's kind of the funny part here, is that they are very invested in the idea of moving the world to gold as a translation point for economic conversion. Let me explain to you what it means to have the reserve currency in the world. Right now, because the U.S. dollar is considered a very stable investment, much of the world's transactions are conducted in dollars. And when countries need to invest in currency, they need to take care of themselves. They need to make sure that they are protected economically. They invest in American dollars. The value of the dollar has started going down. A lot of Countries like China and Russia have been dumping dollar reserves. In addition, the economic policy in this country with tariffs and the like has hurt the American dollar, and so the dollar is weakening. And because of the tariffs, and yes, the tariffs are involved, these countries smell weakness inside the United States, and they think we're ripe for the taking. Say what you will about Donald Trump, and I've said a lot. Donald Trump loves the United States of America. If you're a progressive, you have bought into the lie that Donald Trump is in cahoots with Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump loves Russia, Donald Trump has betrayed the United States, etc. I've heard it all. Donald Trump, you may not like him, you may not like his style. I have my reservations. I sometimes criticize him. Donald Trump is a patriot. He loves America. He's the president of the United States. He really believes he can make America great again, whether you believe he does or not. The idea that just because you hate Donald Trump means that Donald Trump hates America is nonsense. Donald Trump loves the United States. And the reality in the world is that the United States is in the position it's in because of our leadership of the free world. And were the isolationists within the White House to win, that leadership of the free world would come to an end. The president has worked very hard to make sure that doesn't happen. The president of the United States recognizes the BRICS are a threat to not just American leadership in the world and our economy, but to the world order that the United States presides over. Getting into the office of leadership, getting into the presidency, oftentimes you realize the things you thought were so and the way the world works was different. Go back to the Epstein stuff. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, on the outside, they are big proponents of the conspiracy and the cover-up. They get into government. They see the evidence for themselves. They're like, it's not really the case. They change their mind. That's why I wrote this morning, Pam Bondi should be fired. These guys got into government. They changed their minds. They told us why they changed their minds. And Pam Bondi doubled down on stuff and then blamed them when she wasn't getting her way. Pam Bondi tried to throw Patel and Bongino under the bus when she herself got embarrassed because she got out over her skis. Sometimes you get into office and you just realize what you thought was so is not so. I remember when I got elected to office. I really thought my city worked in certain ways, and some of those ways were stupid and effective ways, and I got into office and realized very quickly there were reasons some things that I thought were stupid were done the way they were, and yeah, it from the outside appeared to be stupid, but when you knew the internal workings of city government and why things were done certain ways, you realize that it actually made sense to do it that way. Sometimes you on the outside don't quite understand the process, and it's easy on the outside to be an isolationist. But when you get inside the White House and you realize we have allies who depend on us, if we don't maintain relationships with them, they could sooner or later stop being our allies, and in the process of not being our allies anymore, could actually join the enemy. You kind of have a wake-up moment and think, yeah, I got to do something. Donald Trump is having that moment. Donald Trump is having that revelation. Donald Trump is recognizing he's got to do something. He can't sit back and let the BRIC nations disrupt our economy. He can't sit back and let the Chinese run the world. He can't sit back and let Vladimir Putin run all over him and make him look weak. He's got to preserve and protect the Western world order that is led by the United States. And so Donald Trump has changed his mind. He's sending weapons to Ukraine. Donald Trump is sending weapons now to Taiwan. Donald Trump is now working to impose tariffs punitively on the BRIC nations if they try to disrupt the American economy. And you know I'm not a fan of tariffs, but I'm a big fan of tariffs, weaponized tariffs against our enemies, including China. The president got in office and realized the world was not exactly as he thought the world was. And instead of operating in a way that was wrong to reality, Donald Trump recognized reality and embraced it. And that's meant Donald Trump has sometimes had to change things he said he would do because he recognizes to put America first. Sometimes the things he thought he would do were different. And one of those things is withdrawal from the world stage. One of those things is a rejection of NATO that he now embraces. One of those things is arming Ukraine now that he's realized Vladimir Putin is not willing to have peace. And for every progressive out there who hates Donald Trump, you should at least recognize he has had the capacity to take in information and change his opinions and policies based on that information, something you all said he could not and would not do. He's actually committed to making America great again. I don't always agree with Donald Trump. And I'm willing to say it, even as it alienates me from some of my audience who sends me hate mail. But we should all be willing to recognize that, contrary to popular opinion, the president's able to digest information and change his mind. He's put a lot of effort into trying to bring peace to Ukraine. And he finally has realized Vladimir Putin wasn't serious. He finally realized some of the people Donald Trump didn't like and were telling him Putin lied. They actually might be right in that situation. And now he's processed it, changed his mind, and decided they armed the Ukrainians, and we're all better off because of it. A well-armed Ukraine means they're the ones killing the Russians, not our sons and daughters.
Follow Eric on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Search EW Erickson.
220 Cool Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center. Red alert continues into Cobb County with this police activity. 285 westbound, the inner loop at I-675, exit 52. All lanes remain shut down. They have been putting some traffic onto 675 south, but it is absolutely cooked the ride, almost back to I-20. Use I-20 westbound as an alternate to avoid that. They've opened the left lane eastbound, so that is helping out those eastbound delays. If you're traveling on the west side inner loop, still got that left lane crash. 285 northbound, the inner loop, Highway 166, exit 5. That slows your ride back to Camp Creek Parkway. Traffic brought to you by Sam's Club. There's still time to enjoy locked-in summer value at Sam's Club till July 22nd. Prices are held on over 1,000 items. Join and make the most of summer. So sign up for a membership at samsclub.com/join. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Wednesday on Atlanta's Morning News, overnight new info from the flood disaster zone in Texas. Triple Team Traffic gets you to work on time, and how Clark Howard cuts through the noise when it comes to car insurance. I'm Chris Chandler. We start at 5 on WSB.
A great way to add value to your home is to improve and upgrade your kitchen, but you're worried about the cost because of tariffs raising everybody's costs on things like this. Y'all, it's Eric. You can go to Frugal Kitchens. You'll get that $1 million look for well under that price. And right now, if you book an appointment, you'll get the Frugal Price Lock, where they will lock in pre-tariff pricing. Google Frugal Kitchens today. Lock in pre-tariff pricing on your redesign of your kitchen. Google Frugal Kitchens.
Hey folks, it's Scott Slade. You've heard me talk for years about how MyLand is saving homeowners hundreds, even thousands of dollars every month. Well, here's something that comes up often. Does it make sense to refinance your mortgage and pay off high-interest credit card debt? Well, even if you have a low interest rate on your mortgage, that isn't helping you if you're carrying credit card debt month to month. MyLand sees this every day, where people call in and wish they had done something sooner. Holding on and making minimum payments on your credit cards is only making the situation worse. There isn't one solution for everyone, which is why I trust and believe in my friends at MyLend. They'll shoot straight and give you an honest assessment for you and your family at no cost. Do yourself a favor. Give MyLend a call. Find out how much you could be saving. 770-817-2000. Call 770-817-2000. Online, it's mylend.com. Spelled it M-I-L-E-N-D. NMLS in Georgia Residential Mortgage License C148769, located at 8995 West Side Parkway, Alpharetta, Georgia 30009. MyLend is an equal housing lender.
Exciting news for homeowners out there. This is Deborah Morton, host of Inside Georgia Real Estate, here on WSB every Saturday at 1 p.m. My team and I are now proud partners with the iconic real estate brand, The Agency. As we launch the Atlanta market, we now have multiple offices covering Metro Atlanta. What this means for you as a home buyer or seller is that you will now have access to the agency's global resources. In this changing market, it is essential to hire the most experienced agency to represent you. And if you're a seller, you'll get the agency's proprietary marketing, which brings you more buyers, more offers, and ultimately sell your home for more money. My team and I are here for you as your real estate experts. In the meantime, we have all your answers about real estate every Saturday at 1 p.m. right here on WSB. And you can always reach out to me at InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com. That's InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com, now partners with the Agency Atlanta.
I'm consumer investigator Dale Cardwell.
And I'm Monica Pearson. Dale and I have worked together for years, first at WSB, and today helping you find Georgia's best companies and sharing why they're the best.
Monica, one of the first companies I researched and recommended is AMCO Transmissions and Total Car Care. For more than a dozen years, they've consistently met my 7-point standard and honored my Make It Right guarantee. And I know you believe in AMCO just as much as I do.
Dale, over the years, we've both reported about people getting taken advantage of. So I'm keenly aware what it takes to deliver not just great performance, but great customer service. People who follow my advice literally stop me on the street and thank me for referring them to AMCO.
We all need mechanics we can trust for correct diagnosis, efficient repair, and fair price. Not just for transmission repair, but engines, brakes, check engine lights, and so much more. Call the locally owned AMCO near you.
And I know their nationwide warranty protects you everywhere.
That's AA
MCO.
Most pest control companies no longer treat inside your home, but those that do are spraying your baseboards. That's ridiculous. Bugs enter your home through cracks and crevices, not baseboards. Scott Slade here. Switch to Breda Pest Management for their Triple P process. Precision placement of product. Breda treats the cracks and crevices where bugs get in. Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters.
Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
Want to be on the show? Come on, be on the show. Call Eric now at 877-973-7425.
Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. If you wish to be on the program, Benjamin Netanyahu was at the White House yesterday and had this to say.
You have to constantly monitor the situation to make sure that there's no attempt to bring it back. So we've had a great achievement, and I think part of the effort of consolidating this and ensuring that we don't have to repeat this is to monitor this carefully. Of course, the President and I are talking about it, our teams are talking about it, but there's no question this is a historic victory, and I think, as was said here today, this has already changed the face of the Middle East.
Look, what's happening in Gaza is a disaster. It's a humanitarian disaster, but that's been brought on by Hamas. You know, Hamas has been using the situation there to take advantage of it to smear Israel and claim that Israel is shooting at people trying to get humanitarian aid. And Reuters has now retracted one of its stories. A humanitarian group is suing the Associated Press for the Associated Press implying that they were responsible for the shootings when it was Hamas that was doing it. Hamas cannot be trusted. Hamas is bad. And Hamas is, well, they're being exposed. But the Western media is predisposed towards the anti-Semites, and it's just good that Hamas is starting to be exposed, and also that that this realignment that's happening in the Middle East that benefits Israel is a good thing for us. It provides us greater stability and security and keeps us meddling less in the Middle East. I still maintain and have since the first term that Donald Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize because of the Abraham Accords. He fundamentally deserved the Peace Prize because of the Abraham Accords. It did bring Israel and its Arab neighbors peace. Iran is actually, and Hamas, we know actually the reason Hamas decided to do what it did on October 3rd or October 7th, 2023, was they were worried that Saudi Arabia was about to enter a peace deal with Israel and recognize it. And so Hamas decided they needed to start the war to do that. That's now been exposed. It's been documented. It's just the truth. And Israel is standing up to them, and it's nice to see their Arab neighbors standing with Israel. Now, I got to tell you about Swiss America, because as the world goes topsy-turvy and there are bank questions out there, and we'll find out, I guess, next week on interest rates and things like that, they've been warning about a secret war on cash that amounts to an all-out assault on our freedoms as the government tries to control how you spend your cash and try to take the anonymity out of cash purchases. Swiss America can educate you on ways to protect your hard-earned assets now. You get the report, you read it. The Secret War on Cash. Your copy's free. All you do is call or text 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency, and it's spreading. They're coming for your crypto, folks. All you do is mention Eric, E-R-I-C-K, when you call or text 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. That's SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, or just text my name, first name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply.
What would you do with $1,000 this summer?
Hotel, pool, week at the beach, cabin in the woods.
Whatever you want to do this summer,
WSB has $1,000 to make it happen.
$1,000 Thursdays gives you the chance to win $1,000 every hour between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Listen for the keyword at 9, 10, and 11 a.m. and 12, 1, 2, and 3 p.m.
Enter the keyword at WSBradio.com or on the WSB app. Within that hour,
You could win $1,000. Get all the info at WSBradio.com.
$1,000 Thursdays this Thursday.
95.5 WSB, where Atlanta wins. Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It's 2:30. I'm Veronica Waters. News is brought to you by FGA Roofing. WSB's top local story this half hour: that police pursuit in DeKalb County, which leads to a massive presence on I-285 at I-675. Alex Williams is live in the WSB 24-hour traffic center with exactly what the scene looks like now, Alex.
Yeah, still about 15 flashing lights, sets of flashing lights from the police units on the scene here. It's still a traffic red alert, Veronica. 285 westbound. The inner loop in DeKalb County remains completely shut down at I-675 exit 52. It is a bumper-to-bumper ride all the way back to I-20. That's why I want you to think about taking I-20 westbound toward downtown as an alternate. It is slow. It jams in through East Atlanta starting just before Moreland Avenue to the downtown connector, but it is moving, unlike 285 westbound. So, again, 285 westbound remains shut down at I-675 exit 52 in DeKalb County with that heavy police activity. Continue taking I-20 westbound toward downtown as your alternate. Veronica?
Thank you, Alex. Be sure to stay with WSB for continuing details of this developing story. She made the 911 call. Now the Carroll County Sheriff's Office says she was the killer. Deputies arrest Sarah Grace Patrick in the deaths of her mother and stepfather, Kristen Brock and James Brock. The couple was found dead at home on Tyus Carrollton Road in February. Sarah Brock was 16 at the time. The man serving a life sentence for the murder of Athens nursing student Laken Riley will undergo a mental evaluation. Defense attorneys are appealing his conviction, arguing that Ibarra was mentally incapable of preparing a defense. Authorities leading the search for victims of the devastating flooding in Texas deflect intensifying questions about who was responsible for monitoring the weather, which killed more than 100 people in flash floods which barreled over camps and homes. Meanwhile, the Texas game warden, Ben Baker, the captain, says the work is also taking a toll on the mental health of his crews. Many of the victims are children who were attending a Christian summer camp. It's 2:32. Live team coverage of traffic and weather next.
It's Eric, and one of the questions I get asked all the time is, Erickson, where do I get a computer? I don't want to worry about the setup and all the tech support stuff. Y'all, you go to Vision Computers. Call them at 404-COMPUTE. Listen, when you call Vision, you're not getting stuck in a maze of hold music or menus. They answer the phone 15 seconds on average. That's right, 15 seconds. Real people, real help, real fast, right when you need it. And here's the part I love. You got an older computer, you got programs you rely on. Maybe QuickBooks or a niche software for your small business. You're afraid a new computer means losing it all or spending days doing transfers. Vision Computers got you covered. As long as your software is supported in Windows 11, they can move all your programs from your old computer to the new one efficiently, safely, and fast. It's like handing off all the hassle to someone who's an expert and knows what they're doing. So if you're thinking your old computer is fine but slowing down, maybe time for a new one. Call 404-COMPUTE today. That's 404-COMPUTE. Let Vision Computers take care of everything. You're never going to want to buy a computer another way.
Hi, this is Candace from Exovations, and have I
I got a tip for you. But today, instead of giving you a home remodeling tip, my tip is don't just take my word for it. For over 20 years, you've heard me on the radio sharing remodeling advice. But if you really want to know what sets Exovations apart, go read our reviews. At exovations.com, you'll find hundreds of real stories from real homeowners who have trusted us with their exterior remodeling projects. From decks, siding, windows, doors, paint, roofing, porticos, and so much more. You'll see words like amazing work, incredible experience from start to finish, and again, stress-free. That's not just what we say, it's what our customers say. So yes, I'm Candace from Exovations, but don't just listen to me. Listen to our reviews. At Exovations, we do projects on time, on budget, and without all that stress. Google Exovations or visit exovations.com.
If you're thinking about selling your home this summer, now is the time. With the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can sell your home hassle-free and make the most money. Hi, this is Mark Spain. The guaranteed offer for Mark Spain Real Estate's the easiest way to sell your home. Skip the hassle of costly repairs and sell your home stress-free. There's no showings, no open houses, and no waiting or wondering when your home's going to sell. Our guaranteed offer keeps you in control. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
It's 2:35. Live team coverage of traffic and weather kicks off now with Alex Williams.
Traffic red alert continues into CAD 285 westbound. The interloop shut down at I-675 exit 52 with that police activity, and it is a bumper-to-bumper ride all the way back to I-20 exit 46. Take I-20 into downtown as an alternate. It's going to be slow, but at least all lanes are open and it's moving. Still got a long-standing left lane crash on the west side interloop, 285 northbound. The interloop, Highway 166, Langford Parkway exit 5. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly cloudy, hot, and humid today. High 96. An isolated pop-up shower possible later this afternoon.
More news at 3 o'clock on 95.5 WSB.
Why, hello there. It is Eric Erickson, and I am delighted to have you here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Guess what? Guess what? Something Joe Biden didn't do. Joe Biden could have done this when he was president of the United States. Joe Biden could have done this, but Joe Biden chose not to do this. Donald Trump has chosen to do this, and it is spectacular. You no longer have to take your shoes off at the airport. So we were headed to Las Vegas last Thursday. Brain fart there for a moment. And we're going through TSA. And my daughter has TSA, but I had booked her ticket and hadn't updated her account in My Delta app, and so it didn't have her TSA pre-check label on it, and that was a mess. And then she had to go through, and she had to take her shoes off and all that stuff, and it was a bit of a mess. And I made sure, thankfully, Delta, while I was on the plane, I used their app. I texted them through the app, explained the situation. They were able to fix everything, thankfully. My goodness, what a mess. But had we just waited a few days to go, it wouldn't have been a problem. You no longer, if you're going through pre-check, you no longer have to do that, and that's a great thing. I'm so glad. It's always kind of dumb. And by the way, you know, that with the new machines that a lot of airports have, you no longer have to take your well, hang on a second, you do, but you shouldn't have to take your toiletries out anymore. You should be able to let your toiletries stay through and also take full-size toiletries, because the new spectrum analysis that they can do even through your bag, they can detect the explosives and stuff they were worried about. But not enough airports have invested in those machines yet, and so TSA says can't do it yet. It's still an aggravation. It's still a hassle to travel. And now, of course, the weather and all is causing more and more problems out there as well for people. It's just it's the weather. I was telling, Charlie was taking his family to Montana for the 4th to see his family, and they were leaving Saturday morning at 6 a.m., and at 4 a.m. their flight got canceled because on Friday night through Two Dead Mares International Airport here in Atlanta, a major storm came through. Over 100, I think the number was 158 Delta planes were taken out of commission because of hail damage. They had to be inspected. That's a lot of planes. You know, I'm willing to acknowledge the climate is changing. I am unwilling to acknowledge that mankind plays the largest role in it. And I think that's the problem that I have with it is we are getting hurricanes are rapidly intensifying more often than not. And a buddy of mine who is a great meteorologist, who I suspect Ryan's listening to the show right now, he started off deeply skeptical of climate change, got his PhD studying meteorology. He's like, no, it's definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing. I just think that the left is so invested in humanity shutting down, they have oversold it as mankind is bad and mankind is destroying everything, as opposed to let's adapt to it. I suspect we can adapt, and yet people don't seem to wish to adapt. I think we need to adapt. And I think if we did adapt, we could actually be more calm, collective, and level-headed about this sort of stuff. But people don't want to adapt anymore. People just want to be terrified. People want to be scared. People want to be horrified, mortified, and everything else. And that's just not the way that we should function. We should not live by fear on planet Earth. And so many people live in fear. It's unhealthy. I got to tell you, it really is unhealthy. The amount of people who are living in fear and who are convinced that they are in some ways victims. Friends, if you're a victim by choice. And that in and of itself is a thing that should probably, to a degree, make you worry about yourself, that you have chosen to see yourself as a victim of circumstance. There are real victims in the world, by the way, and there are real people who go through real tragedy. And so many people these days who view themselves as victims haven't gone through real tragedy. They themselves made a mistake, and they can't acknowledge that they are to blame for their own mistakes. And then this gets into government policies and the spillover effect of government policies. Hakeem Jeffries was given a speech, and he quoted the Gospels. He quoted Jesus. Jesus' command that we take care of the poor. And in fact, there's this idea, and it's really bad theology from people who should know better, that you go to heaven by faith, but you are going to be judged on your works. Scripture makes it very clear, and if you don't have to believe me, talk to your pastor about it, that you may get to heaven by faith alone, but when you get there, your spot in the kingdom is going to be determined by your works. When you get to hell, there are levels of hell. Dante was right in that. You're going to be judged based on the bad things you did when you get to hell. Then the people who did the worst things are going to be closest to the fire. It's just the after the eternity for people who aren't believers is the absence of the presence of God. That is hell. Not everybody's going to be right up close to the furnace, though. There are some people who just never embrace God, and, well, they'll be without him for eternity. But there are some people who embrace God, who are believers, who are going to heaven, and they're going to sit the furthest from the throne. And Hakeem Jeffries, to stand on the floor of the House of Representatives and lecture you and me about our obligations to the poor, the Bible's very clear. We have an obligation to take care of the widows, the poor, the orphans, and the refugees. And we shouldn't dance around that refugee. It's a politically loaded term these days. It's not meant to be in Scripture. We are to take care of the orphans, the widows, the poor, and the refugees. We are to take care of the children. And for Hakeem Jeffries to, on the floor of the House of Representatives, lecture us, quoting Scripture, when that man can't tell you what a man or a woman is without the left telling him, and can't tell you what a marriage is without the left telling you what it is. All those things are in Scripture too. Never trust people who decide for political gain to pick and choose which portions of Scripture to talk about. Either talk about the whole thing or nothing. The people who redact Scripture, listen, There are a lot of things that you and I engage in or don't in Scripture, and we're going to be held accountable to it. We're all sinners. We all fall short. There, but by the grace of God, go us. But for the leader of the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives to stand up and quote Jesus when it comes to taking care of the poor and not understand it's an individual obligation. I'm a conservative and not a libertarian because I actually do believe in a social safety net. I actually do believe that there are people that the government should take care of who cannot take care of themselves. I know someone who adopted a child. They were the foster parent for the child from birth. They adopted the child at 2 years old. The child is now a teenager and has some serious psychological issues. The father, one night over drinks, was telling me, fretting about his son, that his son's a sociopath. His son steals with impunity, even from the family. His son has gleefully hurt the other child in the house. It shows no remorse, no love for anybody. And it was a great pain for the dad who's adopted this child as a baby, wanted to adopt the child from when they first got the child in foster care as a baby, a newborn. The mother was a drug addict who ultimately committed suicide. What are we to do with that child? The family supports the child, but one day the parents aren't going to be around. There are now 2 other siblings in the house who are kind of scared of the kid. The social safety net exists for situations like that. At some point, the government's going to have to, this child will grow up and will be placed institutionally somewhere. We'll have to find a job because he's an able-bodied person. It might not end well. The parents are worried. I have another friend who has a child who's got Down syndrome. They are a family of 3. There are no other siblings. They were only children. Their one child has Down syndrome, and who's going to take care of the kid when they die? The social safety welfare net, and what this family is able to put together to take care of their child when the parents are gone. The social safety net exists for. I am pro-life, and I believe that our government does have a role to play in taking care of those who cannot take care of themselves. I'm not a libertarian, and I also believe that we individually should take care of the widows, the poor, the orphans, and the refugees. And it is not for the government, it is not to lecture us on how the government takes care of the poor, because frankly, the private sector takes care of them better than the public sector does. Just take, I mentioned the North American Mission Board for the Southern Baptist Convention yesterday when I was talking about HEB in Texas and what HEB does. And by the way, if you text data to 33777 and you get the show notes, if you click through today to the show notes, my buddy Chip Roy, the congressman who represents the part of Texas that's been hit by these storms, he had put up a graphic. We've put it up at the top of the show notes so everybody can see it. It's accessible to everybody on how you can help, from volunteering, from shelters to donations to reporting missing persons, to a website for the communityfoundation.net, communityfoundation.net. This is from Congressman Chip Roy. If you want to offer assistance, communityfoundation.net. It's the Community Foundation of Hill Country, a longtime organization partnering with the Salvation Army and local community for rescue relief. The social safety net exists, but also we exist, and we individually have an obligation. And for Hakeem Jeffries to lecture us about that, I suspect I give more to charity every year than Hakeem Jeffries does. I don't know what he gives, but I suspect I give more. And history shows the Southern Baptists, I'm not a Southern Baptist, but their relief operations are some of the most impressive. Yes, Samaritan's Purse is great. The Salvation Army is great. The Southern Baptists typically are into disaster areas before even Walmart And Walmart tends to be the first private sector company to go in. When Katrina rolled through Louisiana in 2005 and took out bridges, the Southern Baptist North American Mission Board was on the ground setting up tents and passing out food before FEMA arrived, before Walmart arrived, before any other nonprofit or private entity or the federal government or state government arrived. The Southern Baptists were already on scenes. It was like a transport miracle. These Baptists show up. And they're not there praying or preaching. They're there sharing food. And the food, the gospel message was the food. It was remarkable. And they, as a nonprofit, private sector entity, were there before the government. And that happens time and time again. H-E-B, the grocery store that's founded in Texas that I talked about yesterday, they were on the ground before the government showed up. The private sector does well. Hakeem Jeffries thinks we need to give our tax dollars to the federal government to take care of the poor. Meanwhile, I'm giving my tax dollars to private entities that are doing a better job than the federal government. So you can just shut up, Hakeem Jeffries, and stop quoting scripture to me until you can tell me what a man is based on scripture and tell me whether or not you believe it is so, which you're not willing to do because you don't want to alienate the angry white progressives who now control your party. So spare me the theological lectures. Now, let me tell you about Vision Computers because they would love to do business with you. You can go to visioncomputers.com or call them at 404-COMPUTE. If you call them at 404-COMPUTE and say Eric sent you, well, they're going to give you a great deal, and they will build you a computer that is your computer, not the one-size-fits-all big box store computer, but your computer. And you'll be able to upgrade it over time. They're remarkable people. They're wonderful people. They would love to partner with you. Go to visioncomputers.com, visioncomputers.com, or call them at 404-COMPUTE. If you tell them Eric sent you, you're going to save even more money. And if you just need their tech support that I brag about all the time, just $199 a year. That's it. $199 a year. You can get Vision's tech support for yourself or your whole office per computer, $199. So you can't afford the in-house IT guy? You let Vision be the in-house IT guy. $199 per computer. You're saving salary. And Vision makes sure your computers are up to date, up to snuff, and working, so your employees are great at your business, not at their computers. You want your employees to be productive in your company, not managing their computers all the time. VisionComputers.com or 404-COMPUTE. Call them and tell them Eric sent you. You'll save even more money. They're going to get you a great machine and great service.
You're at the intersection of politics, news, culture, and current events. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
251 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. They have opened the two left lanes on 285 westbound, the inner loop at I-675, exit 52. Still got that police activity in two right lanes, and it's a very slow ride back toward Glenwood Road. You can continue to use 20 westbound as an alternate. That is slowing from Glenwood Avenue to the downtown connector, but it is a way around that. Checking out new trouble, 20 westbound in Lithonia before Panola Road, exit 71. And we had a crash clear 575 northbound in Kennesaw at Barrett Parkway. Traffic brought to you by Active Pest Control. Enjoy a pest-free home with Active Pest Control's pest-free 365 service. To save $50 off your initial pest service, visit ActivePestControl.com today. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
In Atlanta, there is always something happening.
Tanker truck crashed into the median.
The Triple Team Traffic Center has you covered.
No traffic getting through in either direction.
Helping you on your commute.
Avoid the area at all costs. Take Highway 155 or Highway 4223.
Brought to you by the Cool Ray Lifetime Parts and Labor Warranty.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group and host of Money Unleashed. Chris, every week on the show, we offer folks something we call the Portfolio X-Ray. I was hoping you could walk us through that process and tell us why the information it uncovers is so powerful.
Yeah, so the reason we love doing the Portfolio X-Ray for you is we do that behind the scenes. Everybody's extremely busy. Nobody wants to waste time in traffic. If you call in, we will ask you for some information via the phone. Once you've given us that information, we go to work and we put all the hours in developing the report. And I commit this to you. The Portfolio X-Ray is eye-opening. At least 90+% of the time, we can find 2 or 3 golden nuggets in there that you were not aware of that we can either change in your current portfolio mix for you. It's called a 401k optimizer. Or if we manage the assets for you, we certainly can recommend how to diversify away from some of the troubling points that are exposed during the Portfolio X-Ray. Once we've got that, then we'll have you in for your initial consultation. we will present the portfolio x-ray to you and walk you through the high points of it. And that's a document that you get to take with you. It's like getting a financial physical. So how many of you avoided going to the doctor for the annual physical last year? You do the same thing with your financial life. You ignore it. You keep pumping money into your 401k. You hope that it's going well, and I can tell you that hope is not a good investment or financial planning strategy. You need to know. So if you want to know, call us.
The Portfolio X-ray is complimentary. Give Hoffman Financial Group a call to schedule yours today. 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
The average cost of mesothelioma treatments can exceed $400,000, and families often face losing their homes and life savings just to pay the bill. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to significant compensation to help the cost involved with the treatment. Mesothelioma is caused by exposure to asbestos, and companies knew the risk, but you shouldn't have to bear the costs alone. The law firm of Flint Cooper has helped victims and their families secure financial support they're entitled to. Call Flint Cooper now because time is running out for you to file a claim. Call 800-606-8169 for a free consultation. If you've been diagnosed with mesothelioma and don't have legal representation, call Flint Cooper now at 800-606-8169. That's 800-606-8169. Call now, 800-606-8169.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Erickson Show.
Hello, it is Eric Erickson here. Let's go I've got time. One last phone call here. Brad Cullen from Orlando, Florida. You're going to be the last caller today. Welcome.
Hey, welcome, Eric. You know what's so funny? I mean, Epstein's involvement goes back to the 80s with people like Adnan Khashoggi. The CIA knows everything about him. And as you know, the intelligence agencies have been leaking information on President Trump for over 10 years now. They hate his guts. Anyone who honestly believes that he had any criminal activity with Epstein, the CIA would have released that already. That's just using your brain and logic. So this tells you that the entire mainstream media is fake and phony because they know this, but they continue to propagate this false story.
I'm glad you raised this point, Brad, that while I disagree with a lot of the Epstein conspiracy stuff, even some of the stuff you raised, Brad, the fact of the matter is if Epstein was releasing, if Donald Trump was a part of it, we would know. If Donald Trump were somehow involved with Jeffrey Epstein, we would know for certain because it would absolutely leak out. And the fact that the left now, by the way, is twisting this on Pam Bondi, saying, well, she must be covering it up because Donald Trump's involved. No, I mean, come on. Let's be grown up about this. I frankly think that everything about Epstein was, much of it, not everything, much of it was overstated. A lot of it was twisted, and I'm seeing a lot of angry reaction to Donald Trump from some of his supporters today. And what's notable is the supporters who are angry are the ones who, before Trump was a thing, were all over the Epstein stuff. And they came to identify as MAGA because they believed Donald Trump would release the grand conspiracy. And now he's saying, get over it, it's old news, there's nothing. And they're mad because they staked their reputations on there being more than there was. And they are now in a position of being exposed as not having been truthful. And many people are still going to credit them and say, well, it's a conspiracy, it's the government. There hasn't been a great government cover-up. And to Brad's point, if Trump were involved in this stuff, it would have leaked out because these people so hated Donald Trump, and yet it didn't. But also, nobody can keep a secret in government. That's how I've always suspected everything was overstated, because you really believe there's a global cabal of bad guys engaged in human trafficking. None of these people are capable of keeping a secret long enough. So No, there are things you were never going to get the answer to, and a lot of stuff was always overstated. But at this point, believe what you want to believe. I think I'm with Donald Trump. It's old news. Time to move on to other stuff.
If it's happening on the streets of Atlanta.
The Cobb County Medical Examiner's Office identifies 57 sets of cremains.
If it's happening on the roads leading to Atlanta.
Massive project at 285 and Georgia 400 has been a big improvement.
We've got it covered.
Atlanta jurors convict a former Customs and Border Protection officer.
Your 24/7 news source.
Covering the stories that impact you.
Tune in throughout the day to stay up to date.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's breaking news station. WSB consumer expert Clark Howard.
You know that travel has been softer lately than all the predictions. And so I've always talked about how before I travel, week before I go, I reshop my stuff, my hotel, my car rentals, all that. But I've been seeing all these reports in the industry where people are complaining, hey, our bookings are soft. So I tried an experiment recently with a hotel booking I had that was 4 weeks out. Every single week, I reshopped the hotel. Every week, it was cheaper than it had been that I'd already booked for. This is especially important that when you're booking a hotel, book a refundable room. So I was able, by the time I was done, to get the room for $83 less than my original price. I'm Clark Howard.
News, weather,
traffic.
95.5